Greetings, fellow Empyreans. I am Ashtarothi, the voice of New Eden, and what day is it? It is August 10th, YC128. This is the Eve Universe Show. Welcome, 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 guys. Thank you guys so much for being here. I know I want to just start out by apologizing. I know I didn't do a Friday show last Friday. It's been, last week was a long week. I don't need to go into too many details or whatever. Just, man, it's been a hard time for everybody. If you make sure, call your friends, make sure that they know that you care about them, ask them how they're doing, check in with each other, guys. That's all I can say about that. But I am back today, and thanks to my friends, I have, I'm back on my feet again, getting ready to go, and have plenty of exciting things to talk about with EVE Online with you guys. But first, I do want to show off this awesome site that we are at right now. This was added into the game earlier. We will talk about this in the news, but I just wanted to show it off a little bit at the very beginning. While we're all settling in, this is the Avalon site. So this is the location of the Vanguard, basically. It would appear that the Caldari won their turn-in thing, which, I mean, I guess should surprise basically nobody. But, you know, here is the new Avalon flotilla. Now, we will be looking at the New Eden news about this and some other stuff too. Obviously, this is going to play further in as we go through, especially into next expansion, like this winter. This is just kind of setting up stuff at the moment and, you know, wrapping up what just happened with Vanguard. You can see that it's got all kinds of different, it's got all the different kinds of super carriers. It's got all the different kinds of carriers. Lots of other subcap ships. Basically, I'm pretty sure probably most, if not all, of the ships that have received an Arcombine skin is likely here, because it looks like these are all skinned with Arcombine skins. Well, maybe not. Well, that's not an Arcombine skin, is it? I don't know. Hold on. Oh, I can't actually look at these guys. That was a crazy thumbnail. We'll get to what's going on with the thumbnail. So today, like I said, I didn't stream on Friday, which means that we have plenty to talk about today. So we've got three big things that we're going to cover today, three segments that we're going to make. We're going to cover the MER, the Monthly Economic Report. We're going to cover the newest New Eden news. And I do want to jump into the drama that has kind of blown up this weekend with Loru, and finally kind of open up a little bit about my feelings about that particular content creator. So this is going to be an exciting one. Make sure to settle in, like the stream. I do want to point out before we jump into it too deep that this is my birthday month. My birthday is on the 22nd, and our very own Arydanika, the Queen, has decided to do something very kind for me. If you check this out, she posted this on the Discord, which is basically, she has a plot to try to get me a new video card. It's been pretty I've talked about it a few times. I've got a 1070 Ti, which is up until this point served me all right, but you never know how long that's going to last. And also, we want to, it'd be nice to be able to have a more powerful video card so I can make more stuff and enjoy more stuff or whatever. So to that end, Danny has tried to put together this effort to because video cards, I don't know if you know this yet, but we live in basically the apocalypse, and so computers are getting more and more expensive. It is kind of unreasonable like video cards are going more expensive, but she found one that is refurbished and relatively reasonably priced. But the idea is that if everybody pitches in, or people pitch in a little bit, then we could get enough to do the video. I have nothing to do with this per se. Like, she keeps me very much out of the loop when it comes to exactly how this is going beyond very, very broad updates. I really deeply appreciate her efforts, and anybody who makes the choice to do so. I feel like as I'm not a Virgo, I'm a Leo Virgo cusp, but what I will say is a little bit of a spoiler for some topics later in the stream. contribution to this donation will provide you nothing in game. I will give you absolutely nothing in game due to your contribution or lack of contribution to this thing. I promise you, you will get no AT ships. You will get no Odysseus's, nothing like that. But if you want to support me having a new video card and help out with my birthday, Danny has put together this effort. So I really, really wanted to appreciate that. But let's jump into the real news. We're going to start with some patch notes. How's it going, guys? Caldari wins again? No way. Yeah, who could have guessed? So there's only one major patch from yesterday or from last week. Nothing that sets off the magic 3-letter of no flag. Yeah, we're going to talk about that later. It's okay. All right, so the patch notes for last week. We also do have the one hope elites from this patch notes, but basically, if you look at this site that I'm at right now, that is kind of the patch note, right? The Avalon Flotilla has come to Hertamon. This landmark site houses Avalon itself, a roaming fortress forged by the Vanguard in order to offer all war clones the one thing that they need most, a home. And then also, we do have the Amar Blessed Exchange campaign has received enough support so that they've gotten their first landmark. The Deaconry will be visible from orbit, as all modest Amarian buildings should be. And then there was some fix for the Cyber Knight skin. That is a good point. Before we get any deeper into today, I want to point out that today is probably the last day for this gift, right? 14th. Okay, so you actually have, you might have a few more days. Either way, the point is, don't mess around. If you haven't done this yet, go into your NES and pick up your Foundation Day gift if you have been Omega and have played for 12 hours or more between the 5th of August and basically within the last year. And you get 10 free Plex as well as some Skinner components and a new character background. In addition to that, there is... isn't it done on August 4th? No. What they're saying is that you had to have been playing from the 5th of August to the 4th of August, 2026. I picked mine. I managed to redeem mine. Like they usually go for 1 week. So my prediction would be that tomorrow might be when it's done. However, the sale is going to the 14th. So I'm not 100% sure. It also gives you that Amar Pilot Expert system. Or, no, sorry, you can get yourself the Amar Pilot Expert system. So it's kind of the same thing that they've done for the previous two, for the Mimitar and the Glente. So I assume we get the cool background, the Plex, etc., etc. I haven't actually opened up mine, but just make sure if it's today, if you're watching this live or if you're watching this, whatever, make sure to go and pick this up if you haven't already. Now, as far as this sale goes with the Conid Cyber Knight skins, I do have some Cyber Knight skins to show off if people are interested. But I will say just broadly, I think that these skins are going to be very, very popular. You can pick up a certain, these in the NES, and then there's also a Plex sale, right? Isn't there? Hold on. Now I feel... Yes. So there's 2 more days to get these skins, part of these packs. So there's the 1 month, which gives you the Tormentor. The 3 month, which gives you the Dragoon and the Tormentor. 6 months adds Harbinger. 12 months adds Apocalypse. And the 24 month adds the Apostle. Now, we can look at these skins real quick. In-game. No, where's my... And honestly, guys, I think that these are going to be pretty popular skins, and I'll show you why. So if this is one of the better, when they give a sale like this, that also is just a discount plus skins, that's always good. But then there's also these skins that are available on the NES store. So people often ask me about whether or not they're going to be valuable or which ones to pick up. So let's look at these real quick. So as far as the ones that you get for the pack packets. So first with the Tormentor. So this is the 1 month skin. Now the Cyber Knights skin is going to be pretty good because first of all, the top level thing, whenever we're talking about skins, the #1 most popular thing for skins is black. Okay, everybody wants a solid black skin. Conned skins have always been pretty popular design just out the gate because of their black and silver look. So the point here is that, like, so there's two big reasons, in my opinion, that drives the high values of a skin, right? If it has lore implications, that does have a tendency to attract people for a certain reason. Like if there are two different skins and one of them's like really tied into that thing, that actually does encourage people to get into that. So obviously, if you have any interest in Conned, it's all Amarian ships, so it makes a lot of sense. But also, there's just a lot of people that get skins because they look badass, right? And so a skin that is good in spite of its lore, implications or whatever, can also be really good. And in my opinion, the Cyber Knight has both, right? Because it's this black and silver look. I think somebody who's just going through all of the Tormentor skins could easily be like, oh, wow, yeah, this is the one I want. It's got the particle effects. It's got the Conned, one of the Conned symbols at the top. And then it has this Cyber Knights on the side. And my thought is that, like, there's a lot of people that's just going to see this, and without even knowing anything else, it's just going to be like, oh, this is pretty badass, right? Also, I think, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but if I'm correct, these Conned ships should have special effects applied to them. Let me just double check. Do they say that? Yes. These skins feature dynamic visual effects that set them apart in New Eden. So we could theoretically show off some of these if we wanted to, because Thranz was nice enough to give me a few of them, and we're planning on doing a giveaway for one of them. Probably not today. So Friday is going to be a very special stream for a couple of reasons. We'll talk a little bit about that later. So part of that is I think we're going to be doing a giveaway of the Cyber Knight Legion. I'm very sad about that, but I've been informed that I have to do a giveaway on the Legion itself, or the skin. So, but spoiler alert, I think the Legion skin is going to be one of the better ones of the Cyber Knight skins. But to get there first, like I said, this is the 3-month pack, and this is fine. Tormentor's a decent ship. It's pretty popular, but it's also going to be, there's lots of them because a lot of people are going to get the 3-month pack, or sorry, the 1-month pack, I think. Yeah. And then, so then the Dragoon Navy issue, one of the newer ships to come out recently. Very, very good of them. This is another one of those skins that I definitely want. Yeah, see, like, this is the kind of skin that you don't need me to tell you that this skin looks good. And then with extra effects on it too, yeah, this is going to be, it can't be replicated in Skinner, all that kind of stuff. And the thing though is that I thought the Arcombine skin were badass at first, then their game value crashed, and not even a few weeks after release. Well, that's all that will happen. One of the problems with the Arcombine skin, and we'll talk about that with this skin too, is that the more that they re-release it, the more they make it re-available. The reason why the Arcombine skins were so valuable was because they were, not only were they badass, but they were also fairly hard to obtain. But as they continue to do stuff with Vanguard, they make them available again and again, and then also make them if farmable in various different ways. The supply goes up, the value goes down, but they are very much, again, one of those really, really good looking skins, the Arcombine Arisen, which is another good point. Skins that have the Arcombine Arisen and also the Cyber Knight, they're going to be in direct competition with each other for those people that want those attractive skins, right? So you're going to want to, basically, there's going to be a lot of users that come here and be like, oh, what skin do I get for this? And going to settle on one of these two. And so whichever one ends up being the more affordable or more available might be the one that they go for. You shouldn't value a skin based on cost, but based on looks. Cheaper skins make them more badass because you can use them. Yes, but the point here is that given the fact that this is getting to the end, I'm also giving this advice for people that might be investing in them in order to hopefully, get value out of them later. One of the biggest keys to this, though, is that the thing that makes skins truly valuable, like all these things like, oh, it can't be done in Skinner, all that sort of stuff, that makes them attractive. But the thing that makes them truly valuable is when supply gets cut off, right? This is why the Uli skins are so expensive, because they are from that particular year and you can't come out with them again. It literally has the year emblazoned on the side. So basically they have a difficult time reselling them again. I say difficult because they managed to bring it back for the Odysseus, but it's not like, it'd be very, very surprising if CCP or FC started selling the Paladin Yule skin again. And because of that, it is not only rare and attractive, but it has this idea that it'll only go up in value. And that's what really makes it so, so valuable. A good example of this would be like the Manticore or the other police skins. When those were seen as being like maybe the one-time thing, they got to be huge, huge value. And then as soon as FC made it available again, those prices crashed out. So that is something to keep in mind, especially when it comes to these Cyber Knight skins, because the thing is that there's a really good chance that these Cyber Knight skins are just going to be attached to Amarian, Formation Day from now on. So do not expect these to only be available now. I would expect that this, basically August of every year is going to probably have these skins or skins like, basically from this collection available, right? In the same way that some of the other skins are available during those holidays. So these skins aren't going to become like the huge skin, cost skins that you would see in some of the previous ones, but they still you're going to get people that find them attractive, and that makes people pick them up, which makes them more and more scarce over time. So it might be worth keeping an eye on it. But my point is that I think that these are going to be pretty attractive skins for people. Have I ever thought about doing a guide on skins, like what activities you can do in game in order to obtain certain skins? That could be an interesting idea. The problem is that so many of them, like skins that can be acquired from in-game, are often tied to some sort of event. So it could be valuable, but so many skins are just like, oh yeah, this can't be acquired in besides on the market anymore for one reason or another. The thing is, there are not a lot of activities in game that have anything to do with skins. Yeah, that's also true. And a lot of it has to do with, if I made a guide for skins, it would probably be closer to like a guide for Skinner. But yeah. Any rate, so to keep going though, if we go to the next one, we get the Harbinger. So the Harbinger is, of course, a very good battlecruiser. I thought there's also a Harbinger Navy issue, but that's not the one that you get for the 6-month bundle. But, this one's pretty good. I mean, it is a Harbinger with this cool skin on it. If anybody knows any of the special effects on it, please let me know, and we'll just, so that way we know. Officer modules have this too, because there's only a limited amount. Yep, exactly. So with those officer modules that have been coming out for various different events, they will, especially for instance, the presidential election one, right? So you have the different officer modules that are tied to those different, presidential candidates. Well, because they're tied to those presidential candidates, likelihood of them ever being available again is very, very low. And Lucas Tenzin isn't going to completely go away, but the chances that he's going to do something else that allows you to access his officer mod, for example, is pretty low, which means basically all of those officer mods that exist only come from that one event. So over time, their value is only going to get more and more valuable, right? So the question here is that given this vibe, which of these skins is going to be the most attractive, right? Like the Purity of the Throne skins got more and more valuable, but they weren't all the same amount of more valuable. Some ships people want to skin or, get the Purity of the Throne skin or whatever for more than others. So the question would be, which of these Cyber Knight skins are going to be the more attractive one? So then next would be for the next pack, I think it's 12 pack, we have the Armageddon. That's not the that's not the right one. It would be the Apocalypse. Apocalypse, another one of those really good ships. Although, again, like I would think that a Navy issue would be a big deal, because like it is a good ship, but a lot of people are going to want to upgrade to a Paladin or a Navy issue or whatever. So like the question is, how much are they really going to spend on a skin for it? Well, I mean, let's see. Are there any other good alternatives? There is no Arcombine for this one yet. So yeah, it could be good. It really depends. This is one of those ones where it's like, if you like this ship, then you would like this skin. But the final one, the 24-month one, is one of the two that I think is going to be really, really valuable. And it's because it's the Apostle. Now, let's be frank. People are willing to skin and spend a lot of money on their capitals more than they will be on their subcapitals, just because it's visible. You know, when they have a big fleet, it's the capitals that are visible, and you know, faxes are one of the more visible ones because they're scaled up a lot big. You know, compared to like dreads and whatnot, the faxes actually have a much larger scaling than the others. What skin would be the most rare in New Eden? So I feel like that would be almost like a cheat. Like to answer that question, it almost becomes a gimmick. Okay, so I will give you my two guesses. Malak's guess is really solid, and I don't know which of these two is going to be the correct one, but there is the Nyx skin. This is actually a fun question now. So the Nyx has this umbral skin, right? It's very simple. It just makes it black. I think it's this one, right? I certainly don't have it. Whatever the one it is, I'm pretty sure it's the umbral skin. So was the oldest limited edition skin in the game. We'll get to my other guess with this after this one. So the reason why this one is so rare, there you go. The reason why this one is so rare is because back in, I think it was 2015, I even have a video of it. CCP had teamed up with this other company to build a floating Nyx. Now this thing was big, and like I said, there's pictures of it. I have actually like a GIF that I made of it when I saw it live. But the whole idea was that like it had this giant magnet in it, and it had this magnet base. So you set the Nyx on top of it, and it would sit there and float freely above this platform. And they sold this thing. It was like $2,000. And you had to pre-order it with a certain amount of money. It was a mess. But the reason why it was a mess was because ultimately it never got produced. And this wasn't CCP's fault, by the way. This was the company that did it. They said that they were going to be able to do it. Even the one I saw, like personally, it was very both clunky and dangerous. One false step and that magnet flips over and slams down onto the ground. So I guess they never quite made it work right, and so they never actually sold it. But there were people that pre-ordered it. And by the way, CCP, FC, whatever, made good on anybody who paid money for it. Actually, the company kind of fucked everybody, but CCP actually made people whole from it. But as a result of that, the people that pre-ordered it did get this skin. And that was the only way to get this skin. So somebody paid $2,000 to hopefully get a floating Nyx model, and all they got was this lousy skin instead. It was very cool. Like, there's a reason why people were very excited about it. But that's Malak's guess. My guess is actually, so when skinning was first being introduced to the game, right? There were some special edition skin, like ships that were basically just special skinned versions of ships, right? And they converted all of the original skinned ships. Like, so before there was skins, there was the ability so you could like, like a magnate, right? I had a magnate, and then I could get a BPC that would turn a magnate into a Sorum magnate, or, which gives it that Carthian Sorum red and gold like skin to it. But when you fly it around, it would say like Sorum magnate. Now, at a certain point, when the skin system got put in, all of those ships and BPCs for them got transformed into a skin license and the base version of the ship. So now you can just skin your basic magnate. But when they did that, they promised to go back and do that with the other ships that were basically just skins of another ship. And one of the ones that took them the longest to do and got the most criticism for was the Ishikone Watch Scorpion. Now, I don't remember off the top of my head what originally brought on the Ishikone Watch Scorpion, but it was considered one of the rarer ships. It's up there with like the Guardian Vexor and all that sort of stuff. But unlike the Guardian Vexor, which has mechanical differences from the normal Vexor, the Ishikone Watch Scorpion did not. So there is a big question, and eventually, with enough pushing, they did manage to get the Ishikone Watch Scorpion into a skin itself. So they have brought out the Ishikone Watch skin for other ships, but I'm pretty sure that the Ishikone Watch Scorpion skin is still one of the rarest skins in the game. Yes, that was the Nyx Umbral skin. But let me know. Am I right? Is Malak right? Are both of us wrong? What do you think is the rarest skin? That's an interesting one. Either way, jumping back into this one. As far as the most regularly available expensive skins, I think that the Yule Festival skins are still like the best ones because they're super rare. They're a one-time thing. They can't be done again, and they have like the cool patterns and filigree. Let me show you guys what I mean by that. Paladin. The most famous one is of course the Paladin skin, which, man, this entire stream is just a flat circle. One of the things that Loru gave away in the infamous stream that we're going to be talking about, he actually mentions he gives away a Paladin Yule Festival YC121 skin. So this is an incredibly expensive skin, guys. AT skins are probably only ever going to go up. That's true. Yep. AT skins are also going to be very rare and get more valuable. But I still don't think that they're as rare as some of these like oldest, like, because I don't know if there's more than 4 or 5 Ishikone Watch Scorpions in existence when the conversion happened. All right. So then we can go into the Nest store and we can see that there's the rest of the Conid skins here. And so you can pick these up for various different Plex prices, 110 all the way up to 695 for the Revelation Navy issue. And something tells me this is going to be another one of those big skins that become valuable. You know, obviously it's already set at 695 Plex, which is going to set its price pretty high. It is going to be available, like chances are this is going to be available again. But the Revelation Navy issue is, I mean, it's a pretty popular as far as the Navy issue dreads go. It has that newt bonus and those very, very, very powerful lasers that the Amar are kind of known for. Plus, it has that nice cyber. Like you can tell, I could expect somebody who likes to drop their caps wanting this ship as a way of being like you can see the Cyber Knight on it. It lets you stand out on the field. I could see this being pretty darn popular. The thing about this one, though, is so the Revelation Navy issue has the Arcambine skin as well. And I don't know how easy this is to pick up right now. You'd have to check on the market or whatever. And again, like as Vanguard goes on, this could be available again or continuingly as part of Vanguard stuff. But again, like with this, if you're just going to go for the black skin, people are going to make a choice between the Arcambine Arisen or the Conid Cyber Knight. Like if you want a red skin, there's cool ones like Lava Core, there's Sanguinary Savant. There's a lot of really cool skins for the Revelation Navy issue. There's a lot of competition for good skins for the Revelation Navy issue. Whereas for the Apostle, there aren't nearly as many of the like the super fancy good skins right now. Lava Core is kind of there, but I don't know. I think that these are going to be two of the better ones. However, there is one ship skin that I think is going to be kind of the standout, which is if we go into where is it available? Here it is. The Legion Khanid Cyber Knight skin. Technically the Confessor one too, but the Legion one. This is the one that I think is going to be the most valuable efficiently, you know, like, or whatever you want to call it. The reason why is because there's a few reasons why I think this is the case. Did something happen? I mean, lots of things happen. So T3 cruisers and I think T3 destroyers cannot be skinned, or like skinnered. So already you get taken off the table. People can't just go and make their own custom skin for the Legion. So any awesome skin for the Legion is already going to be pretty good. Plus, T3 cruisers being more complicated tend to get less of the awesome skins and whatnot. Like right now, Imperial Police is probably one of the more bad, you know, like cool skins, but a lot of people don't like the police skins. They think that it's like not quiche. What's the word? I couldn't think of the word yesterday either, but it's kind of like not cliche, but kitsch. I don't know if that's the correct word, but you know, there's not a ton of really great skins for the Legion. Plus, and here's the critical thing. I keep thinking to myself, like, who's going to want the word Cyber Knights on the side, right? And so I thought about, like, okay, well, the Magnate Navy issue, this is a good one. I think this one was like given away for somewhere, which is why I have it. This is a good one. It's like, oh yeah, you're going to be not cringe. No, like, I mean, cringe is probably a good word, but I mean like garish or, you know, I don't know, whatever. Could T3 ships eventually get into Skinner? Or is that technically impossible? I mean, yes, I assume that eventually T3 cruisers are going to eventually be in Skinner, in the same way that originally T3 cruisers didn't really get skins at all, especially ones with particle effects, and eventually they did. It just takes more work to get them to work right. I would find it compelling if not for the leet speak. I mean, there is part of that too. But the point is that, like, in my opinion, so what ship is going to be kind of combat oriented and also like hacking, disruptive, you know, a Cyber Knight, you know, who's going to want Cyber Knight and leet speak on the side of their ship? And I really feel like the ship that ends up being the most kind of resonant with this skin is the Legion, just because it is highly technically, you know, it's got flexibility. It's very technologically embedded. Like, the whole point of these T3 ships is that they're so much more advanced than all of the others. I just get the feeling that the Legion Cyber Knight skin is going to be the big one. So, like I said, this Friday, because I don't want to do a giveaway when it's like a stream that wasn't necessarily planned. So this Friday, we will do a stream where we cover this week's news, and then I'm going to be doing a giveaway for the Legion skin for the Cyber Knights, and then I'll be actually, thanks to Thranz, we will be doing a stream of 4X, the game X4. There's a game called X4. I've never actually tried it out, although a lot of people have recommended it to me as like a single player Eve. I actually know very, very little about the actual gameplay itself. I've seen a few things. I'm very excited about it, but Grant's picked it up for me because he thought it'd be cool for me to show it off for people. So what we're going to do is this on Friday, we're going to cover the news of the week, and then I'm going to do a giveaway for the Legion skin, and then we're going to hop into that over onto the second channel, into the Decanted channel, and do that. But that's for Friday. Today is Monday. We're still doing this. Yeah, I would love to, like, right now I'm very blind, and I've tried to stay very blind about X4, but any good advice or whatever that I need to know, or if you're interested, please be there to help me out. When my first steps into the game, I'm going to probably be very confused. If I remember correctly, T3Cs are all different models in the game. I heard from somewhere that there are models in game for each combination. Yeah, basically. Yeah, like, that's the problem with T3 cruisers. This is still true about T3 destroyers a little bit, because of, like, movements and stuff, but I don't think T3 destroyers can be skinned either. But the point is that a T3 cruiser is actually like a whole bunch of different ships, and then it has to be like assembled. It gets assembled in the object factory a little bit different than a normal ship. So that's why there's all these extra considerations for T3 cruisers when it comes to skins and stuff, which is why a good skin for a T3 cruiser like this ends up being so valuable. Blaze of Glory skins. Wait, which one? What about the skin with the deceased Eve employees? CSP never stated that they'll never bring it out again. Yes, actually, the Blaze skins are obviously one of those ones that's going to be increasingly rare over time. Just for people's to let people know. So this guy, man, I wish I could remember. I think it was CCB Blaze. He was one of their art people, and he passed away. And so as part of that, they gave away this series of skins and used that to raise money for his family. So it was really, really cool. But again, this is one of those examples of a skin that had a single source that will not be able to be sourced again. And so basically whatever the skin's at, and we'd have to go to JITA to check right now what the current state of the skin is, because it's a lot of years old now. But whatever it ends up, actually, can I do it from here? I can do it from here. Oh, yay. So yeah, this Cerberus skin is already at 800 million, although again, this is like years ago. So the thing is that they sold a lot of them. So it is slowly but surely going up and up and up and up and up in value. Bargus one? Hold on, let's see if the Bargus one is better. No, 895, so 800 million. I have it for the Cerberus. Anyone know where to get the old Kimatoro Eschaton Commander came from? Kimatoro. So that one is... Oh, no. Yeah. So this was one time... Or this was... I think these get sold during... Actually, you know what? I would hold off on spending too much on Kimatoro skins right now, because there is a reasonably good chance the last holiday of the year is the Caldari Union Day. That one hasn't happened yet. And so there's a reasonably decent chance that we might get the Kimatoro skins again then. I feel like they've done that for Foundation Day, or for Union Day before. That said, I think I do actually have a Kimatoro skin in my collection, and it's like listed as being... Oh yeah, no, I have a few. And these are listed as basically being... Oh, okay, never mind. I don't know. Well, we'll see. We'll see. They might sell them again during the holiday, but it looks like they haven't recently, because otherwise they would be a lot cheaper on the market. Oh yeah, there's none of these on the market. This is a hint for you guys. If you ever win a skin from me, and you're like, and I'm like, what skin do you want? You should be like, I want one of the Kimatoro Eschaton skins. 4 billion ISK for the Caracal. I mean, this one is such a good skin. Everybody loves banners. We'll get to the Loru thing later. No, any skin with banners is really popular, and this gold and black one is also really popular. I would not be surprised if they brought it out again during the holiday, but maybe not for everyone. Hold on. I'm confusing this with a different one. What is the one for that honors Tobel? There's one for the Wyvern, or Chimera rather. Right? Ah, Carololo's Sacrifice. I'm thinking about this one. This one does get brought out most most caps or Union Day, I think. Even that's still 2 billion though. I've been considering buying the ONI one. Which one? For the Kimitoro? I don't keep sins. I sell and activate and use them. I mean, I do a bit of both. Bargus Washi Uprising Parade skin. That was available. What's up, Spoons? That was originally available. That was one of the very first. That was just available in the Nest store originally. But it's one of those ones that just aren't sold anymore. Because I remember one of the very first, like, this is back when, like, to put it into perspective, this is back when the Bargus was new. I'm pretty sure one of the very first skins that were available for it were these two, the Combat and Parade. And these are lore skins because the Washi Uprising is connected to, the origins of the Mordu's Legion. This was the event that led to Mordu taking his guys and turning them into his own mercenary force. But like, so this skin came out at about the same time as, like, for instance, the serpent skins, the snake skins for the Serpentis ships. So early Skinner time. Theoretically speaking, they could make these available again, but there's no promise for it. The biggest thing about these, the Washi Uprising skin, is that at this point, I think that these would be probably pretty easy to recreate in Skinner as well. So, their value is not going to be that high comparatively. All right. Where are we? Sorry, we got distracted. We all got distracted. Cyber Knight skins, we talked about it. My favorite ones are going to be the two capital ones and the Legion, I would say. With maybe we're going to just do one more check. The Confessor also. Because Confessor also cannot be skinned with Skinner. It does have Lava Core as well, but it also is one of those skins that just doesn't have that many super fancy skins. It does have Sanguinary Savant, but if people want, I could very much see the Canon Cyber Knight skin being very popular on the Confessor as well. Especially, like, again, I'm not 100% sure what sort of special effects happen when you fight with it, but I could see I mean, Confessors are very, very popular T3 destroyers. I mean, Legions are very popular T3 cruisers, so. They want 6 billion for the Uprising one? I bet. Like I said, it's old. That's the problem, is it's old. They could bring it back, but it hasn't been sold on the Nest store for a long, long time. Confessor should be around 600 and going down. Yeah, well, 720. Oh, this is one of the ones that was available for a long time. So yeah, you can see it fluctuates all the way down to 150 and all the way up to like 700. Same with the Legion. Well, let's look. That's actually a good call. So we can see here it came out. Yeah, because this is the first data point. Oh, no, the first data point is tomorrow. So yeah, it's been out for about a year, or at least a year. But we can see, interesting that it being available again has not changed its value too much yet. Oddly stable, all things considered. And then the Legion one. Yeah, this is actually kind of what I expected to see, because you can see that, like, yeah, we do see this increase, and this is basically during the time that it's not available, and yet people still want it. And so it climbed from its, man. So the Legion skin ends up being 2 billion, spikes up to over 3 billion, and then now has collapsed down to, well, there are some people buy orders for 670 million. So we can see in the price history on the table. Yeah, so it was going for 3 billion but very few people were buying it before. So 1.5, 3 billion, blah, 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 billions and billions. But now it's dropped back down to about 1 billion for now. But the best sell order is still 3 billion. And for you, you can pick it up for... It's 250 Plex, so that's half a month. So we go to Plex, and we look up Plex's value. Or we can just go like this and say, I want to buy 250 Plex. So right now you can buy the Legion for 1.195 billion. And the best sell order for it is 2 billion. And it's only going to be more true after the sale gets over. The big thing is, of course, to pay attention to the number of sales being done. And we can also see that like this big spike kind of comes from when 5 or 6 of them all got bought in like a single day. So, but that's about enough for this stuff, the Legion skins and everything, or the is enough for the skins that are for sale for now. All right. God, I love this flotilla site though. It looks so cool. Even the like, especially since like some of the clouds and stuff, looks very driftery. Oh, and you can see Jita shining with. Oh man, there's so many good. It's such a good spot for the skybox. Right there, you got Caroline Star and Jita glowing. Weird place. All right. Holy crap, we got a lot of people here. Let's go ahead and jump into what do we want to do? Yes, first, let's since we're here, we're going to talk a little bit about Operation Avalon. Hi, everybody. 07. All right. Operation Avalon is drawn to a close, changing the face of the cluster in the process for 2 weeks from the 7th to the 20th. The war raged on 2 fronts. That was, of course, the Vanguard playtest. Whichever side you fought on, thank you. Every hauler destroyed, every cipher traded, and every successful extraction pushed the shared story forward. On the ground, Warclones fought on the surface of Vanguard's first alpha playtest, deploying onto all-new Lost Convoy battlefield, trying out rebuilt gunplay and advanced weaponry, and risking everything in the redesigned extraction gameplay. And, you know, we talked about this before. I've got other videos where I went over this, so, you know, we'll, you know, whatever. But I thought that the playtest was pretty good. I think that it was very much a back to the basics when it comes to the extraction shooter thing, but that has to do with the fact that they're kind of doing it for real right now. Hi, if I donate to the stream, what Eve ship will you get? I can guarantee you and verify to you that I will give you absolutely nothing of value in game for your donations. Just make sure that's clear. You will get nothing from me besides my thank you, and maybe I'll do something nice for you on Discord or whatever, but nothing in game. You get no ships, not even a caracal. I'll give you a caracal if you message me in game. And you're like, hey man, I want a caracal. I'll probably give you a caracal for free. If you donate to me $2,000, no caracal. Sorry. The gunplay was pretty good. My point was more that, like, I remember at the time, or like one of my biggest criticisms is that it feels much more like just a basic extraction shooter than even some of the previous ones. But again, that comes back to the fact that now we're in alpha. Now we're building things from the bottom up. Everything else is just kind of experiments. What about a Corvette? You know what? Nope, I'm not even. Nope, you're not gonna let. Nope, we're not clipping it. We're not buying into it. You won't take me down like that. You're not taking me down like that. Hey, thank you so much to TL with your 5 gifted subs. Thank you so much. It's very, very thoughtful. By the way, just remember, if you do want to give me money, and you can, of course, become a member, a patron, all that kind of stuff. I do accept direct PayPal, but also right now, Arydanika, the queen, is doing this big attempt to collect stuff, so that way we could do a so I can get a new video card. So if you're interested in helping out with this for my birthday, by all means, that would be super awesome as well. But thank you so much to TL for those gifted subs. If you want to become a member, you get access to those emotes and early access to edited videos. Speaking of which, I did come out with the edited video last week about the current state of the military campaigns and my thoughts about it. And also, I still need to edit the mining video. That one I want to put more effort into actually getting edited down right before I release it as its own standalone video. But of course, you can always go back to those live videos. I say that my edited videos are available to everybody. I feel so much like I need to like clarify my monetization policies this week for some reason. But you know, obviously, you know, the edited videos will be live for people that are members early first. But you can always go and watch the original live videos on my YouTube channel where these things are produced or, you know, recorded, etc. Using Final Cut. I actually use DaVinci Resolve mostly for my editing. Okay. Now then, where are we going? Let's see. We obliterated over 7,000 Edencom Director Thunderchild vessels, and those were the end of the investigation. So that basically means that over 7,000 investigations were completed during the course of Operation Avalon. And then Caldari won their turn-in, so we get the site in Caldari. We have 662,000 people, visits to the command block. So that's like one of the big sites within the Vanguard playtest area. Avalon Rises completions. I'm not 100% sure what that means, except for maybe the quest chain. 9,000 combined player and NPC kills. 153 Oh, one guy got it. Okay, I'm confused. I was like, 153 hours does not sound like a lot of time, but for one person, there's one person. Carnivore did 153 hours. Claudus did 100% extraction rate across 20 deployments. So deployed 20 times, never died or never got taken out before he could extract. Peekaboo revived 113 squad mates. So thank you for that. Good job to you. And we see some of the other prizes. Lilith of our own group got, I think, 10th place when it comes to Nova Knife kills. So it was a good time for a lot of people. Now, the next Vanguard playtest is coming this winter, winter/fall. And one thing I am kind of disappointed about is they suggested that they're probably going to do the next map, or the same map for the next playtest, but we'll talk about that more when we get there. I just wanted to touch on this, especially since we're at the Avalon site right now. But there's that news. In addition to that, we have Alliance Tournament ships. %, successful extractions, even when there were bugs that could cause you to fail to extract. Yeah, I mean, well, to be fair, he only did it 20 times. So, I mean, got lucky, maybe. Yeah, if you contact Arydanika on Discord, which you can find her on our Discord. So there's the link to the Discord. She might not be here today. We've been playing a lot of Enshrouded, so I'm not sure if she's sleeping at the moment. All right, but okay. So next thing, Alliance Tournament prizes. We've been covering the Alliance Tournament as it's kind of rolling out, you know, and now the official stats about the Alliance Tournament prizes have been revealed. I think they got revealed at Eve Down Under, or one of the Eve events. But now we also have this dev blog for it, with this video, with this. Hold on, that's loud. First of all. And again, so we see end of August is going to be the first step, and then the beginning of September is the next, and then 12th and 13th of September is, I think, the final rounds of it. we can see the details here. But the point, we've talked about this, and hopefully I don't get copyright strike for that little bit of music. But there are the AT ships. AT ships are these incredibly powerful ships. Usually there's only, I think, 50. There might be more now. I don't remember if the rules have changed about how many of them get given out. But there's only like 50 or so of these ever given out. There's usually like a frigate and a cruiser. These are become extremely strong ships. So in this case, we see an upgrade to the... Crucifier? Sentinel? No. Off the top of my head, hold on. Yeah, well, Crucifier is the Tech 1. Sentinel is Tech 2. Wow, I was right. Excellent. So these are kind of a more advanced Sentinel, whereas the Cruiser is a more advanced Curse. And we've been kind of I had theories about based on Sentinel. Okay, great, thank you. Sorry, either way, you're right. It says it right there, Sentinel. Great. The point here is that like I had a guess that this was going to be Blood Raider related potentially, although it would seem pretty quickly to show that that wasn't going to be what happens. But I was like, oh, well, maybe the thing that AT ships are always so badass in some critical way, right? And so the question was, how are these going to be badass? And so what they've done, I thought that they might add the Blood Raider bonuses to it, where it can use NOSes the same as Newts. They do look really cool. But more importantly than that, they're basically combinations electronic attack ships and assault ships. Or no, sorry. The frigate one is. So the frigate one is an assault frigate and the electronic attack frigate in one, which is probably going to be pretty freaking strong. This thing's going to be a tough nut to crack and be able to be very disruptive to people's stuff. This is going to be one of those ships that you see very rich, very talented pilots running around in low sec just dunking on people with it. This is going to make a good one for that. It has 8 effective turrets, so it's basically like a destroyer or better level of offense with a frigate or better, like an assault frigate level defense and electronic warfare like bonuses and capabilities. It's going to be crazy. Its slot layout is insane. Does it show the slot? Oh yeah, 255 is fucking nuts, guys. Those mid slots are going to be critical. Amar always struggle with mid slots. It's not just a matter of points and stuff. It also, in this case, you're going to want your weapon disruption, which again, or with weapon disruption, you need to either do missiles or turrets. So you might want to carry one of both, or however you want to do it. The point is that you've got enough slots to make that happen, and all of those slots for tank in the and damage if you really wanted to, with 2 turret hardpoints, a 60 M3 drone bay. So this is actually a pretty decent drone boat with a drone bandwidth of 20, which is a flight of 4 drones, which is not like the top. Obviously, you could have 5, but very, very strong, especially when you look at where was it? Oh no, never mind. I thought that it's the other one. So this is just going to be, it does have this range bonus to turrets, as well as damage and rate of fire. So it's just going to do a lot of damage at longer ranges than you would expect. Plus, it has that weapon disruptor effectiveness and a better cap recharge speed and resistances, which brings us to what makes this thing so fucking broken, which is that because it is both an assault frigate and an electronic attack frigate, it gets 3 skills that apply direct bonuses to it. Normally, you would just get the Amar frigate bonus and the electronic attack ship bonus or something like that, for like a Sentinel. But because this is both, you actually also get to use your assault frigate bonus skill, so that extra 20% armor resistances potential, which is armor resistance is one of the best tanking stats that you can get. So this is just going to be just a nightmare of a thing to catch, pin down, and take down. And then there's the penitence, which is the curse, but it takes the curse and it becomes a heavy interdictor. So this is not an assault frigate. or assault ship. Now the Herald should be able to get the assault damage control, which will make it even nastier, and it has that micro warp drive penalty difference too. But the curse is just 2 high slots for 2 turrets, but because of the bonuses to damage and rate of fire, it does the equivalent of having 8 turrets, right? So it would do the same amount of damage as a ship that had 8 turret slots, but no damage bonuses. It has the damage bonuses magnify those 2 turrets to be the equivalent of 8 turrets. That's what it means. Now for the recon cruiser, the curses are just generally gross ships in the first place. They're one of the best recon ships in the game. When it comes to recons, there are 2 types of recons. There's the cloaky ones and there's the D-scan immune ones, right? The cloaky ones are more for getting on top of people and getting a Sino. That would be the Pilgrim for the MR. But the combat recons are invisible to D-scan, which makes them incredibly nasty, especially in things like combat plexes and stuff like that. And so the Curse is a very popular ship of like suddenly Curse, right? You didn't realize that they were in system, and here is this ship that is a very powerful ship, a good drone boat, but it has incredibly strong newts and incredibly strong range on those newts. They will just eat you alive. Curses are known for this. So you take all of that and you add to it being a heavy interdictor. Now, a heavy interdictor does a few things that are very interesting. First of all, it already could have lit Sinos because it's a recon ship. But the heavy interdictor adds to it the ability to have an infinipoint and interdiction bubble, as well as some other fancy stuff for things like wormholes and whatnot. But we can see here that so it's going to be able to have a warp disruption field generator, but again, it can also have like that warp disruption field generator is also an infinipoint. You can script it, and then you can point somebody and scram them at range. And so this additional range to this, plus the uses of like abyssal mods and stuff like that, means that, and remember, whoever has this fucking ship has infinite amount of ISK to fit it up. Because if you're flying this ship, you already are spending trillions of ISK just to put it in the field. So the idea of putting on like a really well done abyssal rolled module makes tons of sense. And heavy interdictors can already be made to have incredibly long point ranges. So just imagine being scrammed from like 60, 70, 80 kilometers away by this guy. I'm getting there, Thranz. Just imagine, so like this guy is really far away from you. He has you scrammed, so you have no micro warp drive, and it's what's considered an infinipoint. So it has basically an infinite number of points in your scram. So this could be pointing everything from a frigate all the way up to a capital ship, and it is going to go nowhere until that hick is gone. So you get all of that, plus the newts, plus the weapon disruption. This thing is going to be a fucking monster of a ship. But again, it's also going to be insanely expensive. There is another piece to this, though, which is crazy, which is that it gets that drone micro warp drive velocity bonus. And where was it? Where is it? You have 7,500 meter bonus to drone operation range per skill level. So you're actually going to be able to use your drones significantly further than you're used to. And this is good because curses are designed to be at range. So we're talking about something that's going to be well outside of most people's range. I'm not even joking when I say like easily somewhere between, 80, if not further away as far as like range goes. And they're going to be hitting you. And they're going to be nuding you out. And their drones are going to be on top of you. This thing's going to be a monster if you see it. Now, the idea that it's going to be used to light a Sino, I think, is insane. The one thing that you're not going to want to do with your AT ship is light a Sino, because that's going to pin you down. But we can see, like, the drone bandwidth. It's got a full flight of 5 medium drones at the same time. This thing's going to be a monster. And then, yeah, well, sniper. The thing I see about this would be like, so you have the main engagement at the heart, right? And then this guy is designed to sit away from everybody else and just mess with everybody. So you're going to like engage, and then suddenly this guy's going to show up. Again, I don't necessarily see that he's going to be the guy who lights the Cyno, but again, you're never going to see this dude on D-scan, right? So it's just suddenly in the middle of a fight or in the middle of whatever, he's going to show up. You're never going to see him on D-scan. You're never going to have any warning about it. Now, actually, I'm wrong. You will have a one warning about it, which is that every single one of the pilots of this ship is going to be well known. So that your biggest warning that this is in play is actually going to be the pilot. If you know the pilots that fly this thing, then you'll know that there's a chance that it's in play. And that's going to be basically the only thing that saves you or takes them down. That's twice the range bonus as a normal hit. That's so spooky. Eventually it's going to be an expensive kill mail, which is super fun. But again, and that brings me to my point, which is that like the value of a curse is that nobody knows that you're in the curse. So you might see somebody in local, but you don't really think about it unless you've done your math to figure out, oh, wait, there might be an extra person in this Plex or something. You might not realize that there's a recon in the Plex. But something tells me that the flyers of this ship is going to become really well known. And so once you see that person in local, that's going to be your best clue that one of these things are coming. And that actually, ultimately, I think is going to be that person's downfall. Because anytime you can get information from this kind of thing, you know, one of its major defenses is being taken down just by the fact that the person who's flying it's going to be identifiable. Okay, that's enough of that. Let's talk about... We did the Foundation Day gifts. We did this the sale. We looked at Hobaleaks. All right, let's do the main topics for the day. Let's start with the New Eden news. So they give the ship to their alt. Well, yeah, for sure. But I'm just saying, like, AT ships already get like pilots of AT ships get quickly identified. All is doing well today. Welcome. You actually, so far we've just been going over like the incidental news. We haven't gotten to the big segments yet. We're about to. Let's not skip over the slot layout. That's the best thing about it. Okay, that's true. Five, 6, 7 is crazy. Hold on. The curse, by contrast, so the curse has 5, 6, 4. So you're gaining 3 low slots. I would have liked to get an extra high slot, although it's not like, or mid slot rather, but it's not like you're actually having, you know, you get to get rid of your normal point for the Infinipoint, or for the, you know, the Hick thing. Although isn't the Hick, is the Hick Infinipoint a high slot? Either way, 4 launchers, 2 turrets. It's so basically the exact same high slots as the curse. It ends up with the same drone bandwidth, but twice the drone bay. It gets that incredibly necessary fitting. Wait, hold on. That gets a resistance bonus, which the curse does not have. Curse is normally known to be a little bit fragile, so that 20% bonus to all armor resistances as part of the roll bonus is also pretty nuts. This thing's gonna have, yeah, is it 6, 7? Huh? Yeah, it's just gonna be a monster, man. Oh, it also has, hold on, it also gets that reduction of signature radius penalty from warp disruption field. Oh no, that's a Hick thing, right? Right? I don't remember. It also has over twice the bonus to drone hit point and damage. This thing's just going to be a monster. And like I said, it has that extra 3 extra low slots, which is very strong. Yeah, so it's going to have like a 90 to 100 kilometer drone range, even without any drone link augmenters. Oh, here's how many there are going to be. So, oh, okay. So, oh, wow. Okay, so I was wrong. So it's not 50. There's now going to be a total of 140 of them in the world, which is actually going to get them actually used, which is nice. And then the Amar Victory skin is going to apply to all of these skins. Or to all those ships, which is cool. Okay. Cool. The Missile Naga was really fucking cool from last year, too. That's true. All right. Let us go into the New Eden news. More insane thing for me is the frigate. Info-linked heated weapon disruptor is going to be 99% weapon disrupt. Oh, yeah. No, I think that of the two, you're going to, like, we're going to hear more about the frigate. Like, the frigate, that assault frigate is going to be, like, the dream ship to just dink around in low sec and fuck with people with. It's going to be a monster. In fact, I think that the frigate makes a lot more sense. Like I said, the Infinipoint from the Hick is cool, but I don't know. I almost would have liked it if the Curse was also an assault ship instead of a Hick. Just because, like, Hicks are so known for being disposable's the wrong word, but like they very much are the tank. Like they're the target, right? And so, I mean, we'll see how it all plays out in the end. I think that the Curse is going to be absolutely critical to whaling, right? But the problem is that whaling isn't nearly as common as it used to be. But like, if a group was going to be hunting for capitals that are out of position, like somebody ratting or something like that, that Curse is going to be amazing because it can pin the guy down. It can stay small enough and tight enough and hardy enough to kind of survive the capabilities of the capital ship, plus newt them out. And newts are one of the big points of vulnerability for a lot of capital ships. So I could see it be more useful for like organized hunting stuff, whereas the assault frigate is going to just be like run around, go have fun, kill a bunch of people. Let's not forget that you can use remote rep with a hick point on. Oh, you can't, exactly. You can't get, that's true. That's my point, is that the Curse setup feels so much more exposed. You're not going to necessarily want to Sino it, and when it's using its hick point, it can't be repped. So it really relies on its own ability to survive, which is going to be pretty good, don't get me wrong. But I think that just for funsies, the assault frigate's going to be the bigger one. Not that any of us here are probably going to be flying either of them. So let's go ahead and just jump into the next topic, shall we? All right. Greetings, fellow Empyreans. I am Ashtarothi, the voice of New Eden. This is your New Eden news for August 6th. YC128, Caldari accused of Vanguard collaboration while Amar and Minmatar campaigns progress. Caldari accuses harboring an Avalon flotilla. The Caldari state has been accused of harboring the Vanguard Avalon flotilla within its borders. The accusations were made by Aegis Provost Marshal Kashia Valkanir. According to Valkanir, quote, raids were carried out by Capsuleers on Aegis facilities across the cluster during Vanguard's recent Operation Avalon. Stolen assets from those raids have been discovered across the cluster, but by far the largest number have been traced to Caldari space. Aegis is gathering evidence that clandestine elements within the state encourage Capsuleers to collaborate with these criminal war clones. The state's House of Records has blocked Aegis from investigating further. The Vanguard are a dangerous and criminal group, and blocking our legitimate investigation into that group seems tantamount to an admission of collaboration, end quote. Chairman Akimaka Saraki, head of the Caldari State's ruling chief executive panel, has denied any knowledge of connection between the state and Vanguard war clone Isilononen Amalia, probably not the right way to pronounce that, CEO of House of Records, claims that Aegis' request to investigate was dismissed because, quote, it lacks sufficient material grounds, and that Valkanir's comments are unfounded accusations born of unhealthy obsession, end quote. Aegis has also shared reports of unmarked vessels transiting between Ihalakan and Kimatoro constellations. They believe that these vessels are under Vanguard command. The Caldari Navy has, however, informed the scope that it has evidence that these transits are nothing more than conventional smugglers and that local megacorp security functions are handling the matter. Minmatar and Amarr make campaign progress. For the past 2 weeks, hopeful Starkmanir have begun to gather at Republic military's headquarters in Ammo. Along with volunteer escorts from the other Matari tribes, these would-be settlers have put their faith in the Republic's promise to restore their lost homeworld. Arzad II, once known as Starkman Prime, has been under the Amarr control since they conquered the Minmatar worlds almost 900 years ago. At the time, Starkmanir was the largest and most influential of the Matari tribes. Now they are by far the smallest. Today, the Starkmanir live on land granted to them by the Matar. A return to their lost home would be a chance for the Starkmanir to take a step back into their lost glory. Even if the ongoing Republic campaign succeeds, the resettlement will not be easy. The planet was transformed into a barren world when the Amarr bombarded it in response to the Starkmanir rebellion. The Starkmanir gathered in Ammo remained undeterred by the prospect of difficult resettlement. According to one would-be settler, quote, Starkman Prime is our home. We will restore it, and it will restore us, end quote. As the Starkmanir prepare for hopeful restoration, the Amarr have finally begun construction of the Deaconry of Economic Oversight at the Emperor Family Station in Amarr. The Deaconry is the cornerstone of Empress Catus I's Blessed Exchange Plan for Economic Reform. The Amarr campaign has so far not gathered the same level of support as the other empires, and the beginning of construction work marks the meaningful milestone in their efforts. Captain Marshal Zerdan Sirkosh, who has been leading the effort to garner Capsuleer support, has called the construction, quote, a historic moment that our descendants are sure to learn about one day, end quote, adding that, quote, this is the beginning of a new vision for the prosperity of our great empire, end quote. News in brief. Starkmanir Chief Jeroen Setul honors Capsuleer Bixtarkes. Lots of pronunciations are going to be wrong today. Contribution to Restoration Campaign as Starkman Legend. Capsuleer Ramella, I'm just going to say Ramella, granted the title of Corridor Architect by Syndicate Campaign Oversight Committee due to unmatched contributions. Capsuleer Siriat, first Deacon of the Exchange to be named due to overwhelming contributions to the Amarr campaign for economic reform. Federation scientists cite Capsuleer Ponch Gigabyte as operational mastermind in first paper to be published based on the Operation Rogue Edge contributions. Amarr prepared to celebrate 10 years of Empress Catus I's reign next month with tributes from across the Empire. President Alex Moreau confirms reports of new, deadlier rampant drone fabricators being spotted in Anoika's system. Capsuleers of no vacancies are first to master all 100 waves of rampant drone fabricator assault. Arzad II naming rumored to be one of many sticking points in ongoing Concord negotiations. Ymir and Salvation class ships sighted in battle as Capsuleers add command carriers to doctrines. Upwell Consortium recoups losses from Vanguard raid in massive insurance payout by Intaki Bank. Air's latest holotech license to NOH for use at entertainment parks. After over a decade, Fun Inc. convenes 450th Open Fleet. That is it for your news today. Now for some analysis. We will get to the other news when we're done with this section. But so this is, of course, the follow-up to Operation Avalon, as well as the military campaigns. Operation Avalon was the summer Vanguard playtest event thing, and so as part of it, you would be able to get this chip if you completed all of the tasks, and you could use that to turn in to get a prize from the Vanguard. And then there was multiple different turn-in locations, and the idea was whichever one got the most turn-ins would be the location of the Avalon flotilla. So to catch people up a little bit, basically, you know, we have the war clones, the immortal clone soldiers that were developed way back in like 2010 to 2012 with the Dust 514 and Templar 1 kind of stories. And that grouping has kind of lived under the radar for several years, hiding out, being preserved in part by this group called the Arcombine. And then when the Deathless kind of shows his face back in, I want to say 2021, 2022, he kind of unveils this idea of making this pirate haven and mercenary organization of these new war clone soldiers that he managed to get from this. He finds this Jovian facility with special, the ability to create these war clones that are very similar to the Dust 514 soldiers, but allow their guys the consciousness of the soldiers to stay within their virtual reality construct and then project into these soldiers. And so with this creates this new mercenary organization called the Vanguard. The members of the Arkhambine, as well as other original war clones and other war clones from other mercenary groups, defect from their various organizations and join the Deathless and take part as part of this Vanguard operations. He transforms them from their old selves into what are now the Vanguard. But now, as a plot twist, the Vanguard themselves don't necessarily want to be pinned down to the Deathless and the Fulcrum and his specific operations. And so a bunch of them, with some help, have basically broken free from the Fulcrum and therefore the Deathless, and has established their own virtuality with their own ability to kind of project their people and maintain their people and deploy into different planets and collect resources and stuff. And this project, this area, this thing that they've created, or rather the facility that they stole in order to make this happen, is known as Avalon. So we can see here in space right now, we are at the Avalon flotilla. Uh-oh, where are they at? That's funny. Hold on. Where did I put it? Oh, they're there. They're all the way down there. Here we go. So over here is the Avalon flotilla. So you can see this structure here, the big long structure. This is Avalon itself, which is effectively just one of the forward operating bases that the Deathless has been using to do his insurgencies and whatnot within the war zones. And you can see it is supported by a massive armada of super capitals, capitals, and subcapital ships as part of this Arkhambine / Vanguard forces. So this is likely going to play in as time goes on, especially with the winter, the fall-winter expansion and the next Vanguard playtest. But this is just a setup for that. Now, what's interesting about this is that, obviously Aegis is one of the major opponents of the Vanguard, along with Upwell. Aegis is the Department of Concord and are mostly focused on things like the Triglavians and the Drifters. However, Aegis itself was originally created to be kind of a ground troop, their own, Concord's own solution to immortal clone soldiers. And so, Aegis has been stepping up, and they're doing this project where they're trying to create what seems like a super virus or maybe an artificial intelligence enemy known as the Nemesis, which is the thing that the Vanguard have been trying to expose. So obviously Valkyneer does not want to talk about Nemesis here, but that is the thing that is really worrying her. Now, the House of Records is, of course, one of the major groups within. They're kind of the same as like the Ministry of Internal Order for the Amar. They are the guy. They're like this almost the CIA, but they're the record keepers for the Caldari. They have been associated in the past. What's interesting is that watching House of Records and their association with Aegis has been important because it has been one of the access points for Edencom to be able to spy on the Caldari in the past. But as we've talked about many, many times now, there seems to be this disagreement going on within the state between Ishikone and his allies and Laidai and their allies, with Akimakasaraki often seeming to be kind of siding on the side of Ishikone. This also plays a little bit down here with this idea. One of the things that's curious about this is Air's latest holotech licensed to NOH for use in entertainment parks. What's curious about this is that Air is founded by an ex-Ishikone member, and yet NOH is part of the faction that ties to Laidai. So this could be a business deal as well. But this whole thing, everything involving the the Yantey, especially the Yantey Syndicate, its connections to Upwell, Jita, and all that stuff. Like, we've talked about this many times. This kind of this conspiracy, this possible Caldari corporate subterfuge or malfeasance going on between these different groups that are kind of manifesting in this way. But it's hard to really piece out necessarily like where this is going with that quite yet. It's just something to keep in mind as like a larger context to all of this. Yeah, they did hit the spooky vibes with it. The other thing is that, like, so I find it curious, this this idea that, where was it? Yeah, Upwell Consortium recoups losses from Vanguard raids and massive insurance payout by Yantey Bank. This one also feels very suspicious to me because, okay, so there's been a lot going on with the Syndicate. Obviously, the Syndicate, like, there seems to be this effort by the Caldari to basically break up the Yantey Syndicate. That's what their military campaign is all about right now. They've arrested the Syndicate leader, although she escaped. They seem to be very much interested in taking control of the Syndicate area, which is important because I suspect that the Syndicate area was a place that the Caldari were working with Upwell to do a lot of this clandestine research and development into things like war clones, novel transportation systems, bioadaptation, all this weird stuff that they've been working on since like Triglavian invasions. And so this idea that like Upwell's coming under a lot of attack, Yantey is being breaking apart, but the Yantey Bank, which is a part of Yantey Syndicate, but is also part of the Upwell Consortium, this like relationship between the Upwell Yantey Bank and everybody else, has been one of those things that I wanted to keep an eye out anyways. And so it makes me curious because this massive insurance payout by the Yantey Bank, like, an insurance payout means that the Yantey Bank is giving away a lot of money, which means that this is a process of like extracting a lot of wealth. I think that this is just part of the continued looting and splitting apart of the Syndicate in order to try to give it more towards potentially Ishikone or other Caldari interests, or if not that, then Upwell interests, because of course a lot of Upwell interests are tied to Caldari interests, or at least interests in that area, because you've got Outer Ring excavations that are right nearby, Mortis Legion that is all part of this. So I suspect that this Yantey Bank payout thing is just another way of basically taking Yantey Syndicate wealth and extracting it out and applying it to the Upwell Consortium, because the Upwell Consortium's research and development around these war clones and attached to Mortis Legion, that's kind of like the end game of this whole project, right? Mortis Legion has been working with Ishikone for some time, etc. If you want more information, I've done several conspiracy tinfoil videos about that sort of stuff too. But this is just what jumps out at me because of the news from today. All right. So then obviously the other news is about the military campaigns. Once they hit certain thresholds, they're putting in the landmarks. And so we have the Minmatar landmark and we have the Amar landmark as those begin to progress. I just put out a video about an update of where we're at with military campaigns. We're a little over halfway done with the military campaigns. So if you are missing out, then, you probably should get around to it. To that end, these first 4 are just the 4 people to, when you get, I think it was 20. So we have to complete 30 out of the 44 tasks in order to complete the military campaign for the Empire. But in order for you to get the top title, you have to personally complete your maximum contribution on 20 different tasks. So obviously we now have enough tasks that all 4 empires have people that have completed that and gotten the highest title. And so these are the 4 people that did it first. So these are the people that have completed at least 20 tasks for their chosen empire, and they were the first ones. So they got these titles. What if the Syndicate goes underground? They make good contract organization for Vanguard contracts. I mean, yeah, we'll just have to see how this all plays out. There's too many pieces in play right now for me to make too many guesses. I mean, like I said, even the Sylphie's at large right now. So I'm sure there's going to be more shoes to drop, but chances are they're going to wait till we're closer and closer to the end, setting up. Basically, they're likely going to wait till we get closer to setting up the next military campaign. Because remember, everything about these military campaigns are supposed to set up the next one. and that's going to be the one where Vanguard gets more involved. That's the one for this winter. So I would expect that as we get closer to that, we're going to see more of the setup stuff, and that's where we're going to see some of these things potentially get revived or at least pay off or advance. Good way to introduce high-sec ESS. I don't know if they're necessarily interested in doing that, though. Anywho, okay, and then it is Amarr Formation Day, I think it is. Like, it's the Amarr celebration, but, you know, obviously Empress Cadis I was coronated not necessarily on their anniversary, so she's going to be coronated next month. It's the decade-long anniversary of her coronation. Expect new skins and stuff or like more skins and stuff available then for like celebrations or whatever. But, you know, Empress Cadis I, this is of course been in charge ever since Jamil was assassinated by the Drifters, and then there was an Amarr tournament that was players competed to become the champions of various households, and then those champions competed with each other, and in the end Cadis Tashmerkon's champion won, making her Empress, and that was 10 years ago. And then Alex Moreau is talking about the new fabricators, the Rogue Drone fabricators, which showed up, I think, during the presidential election. We were told that they were going to come back. They are now back. We covered them last week. They've been really, really popular for people in wormhole space in particular. Lots of good information about that. They're very cool. But so this is just talking about them being back. And of course, No Vacancies was the first to complete all 100 waves of the Rampant Drone fabricator. Again, we'll be talking about Loru during that section. Right now, we're covering the New Eden news. And then Arzad 2. This is an interesting one because, again, like they want these military campaigns to set up the plot, right? And so the idea that Arzad 2 is going to be a sticking point in Concord negotiations as this military campaign goes on, whether it's successful or not, can determine, like, this is just a beat for them to kind of spin off of for the story, right? As things... tension continues to go up. What's interesting right now is that the military campaigns aren't in direct opposition with each other, right? It's not like the Caldari and the Gallente military campaigns are designed to be in competition or ask you to interfere with each other. But this idea that, like, well, even if like Arzad 2 being renamed, this is a very controversial event within the overall politics of things. And so, you know, this is only increasing our tension of stuff. And then, of course, they're showing off the fact that the new command carriers are finally out there in action. And Fun Inc. did their big fleet. That was player news, and that was a pretty cool thing to do. And that is it, I think, for today's New Eden news on August 6th, YC128. Let me know if I left anything out or if there's anything else to talk about down below. Let me know. Did you take part in Operation Avalon? Do you think that the Caldari... I'm curious of whether or not the Caldari are a good ally for Avalon, and especially with its connections to Upwell. So I don't know. I don't really have a big ask for this one, but just like I'm curious as to where you guys think this... Like, let's call this a prediction time. Go ahead and post in the comments down below. What is your prediction for this story as we get into this winter and how it's going to relate with Vanguard and Syndicate and military campaigns, etc., etc. Make your best prediction down below, and we'll see in a few months who wins. Anyway, I have been Ashtarothi. If you're watching this live, hang tight. If you're watching this as the edited, thank you so much. You can watch all these things early if you become a supporter or a member or a patron. But otherwise, you can watch these things live on my show. I stream every Friday, and extra days if I need to, or at least I try to stream every Friday. But all that said, thank you all for watching the stream, contributing, all that stuff. Again, if you're watching live, staying tight, watching the edited. I've been Ashtarothi. I've been playing this game since 2010, talking about it since 2012, and I'm here to be even to context for you, my fellow Empyreans. Thank you all so much, and thank you to all of you who support the channel, including my top tier supporters: 745 MPSI, Arydanika the Queen, Bad Boy Smooth, Ebo Elite, Erladis, Elange, Flash Gordon, Grims, May, Malak, Starfire, Malin, Mercuton, Mayak, Morkar, Michael, Neelam, LM1, Sheesh, Susuro, Threns, and Rid. Thank you all so much. Until next time, I've been Ashtarothi, the voice of New Eden, and I'll see you in space. All right, that's good for that one. Okay, guys, fine. We'll talk about Loru. We'll talk about Loru. We'll talk about Loru now instead of the MER. We can always talk about the MER on Friday if we need to. You guys seem really, really interested in talking about Loru. Let's talk about Loru. All right. Look, okay. So I generally avoid, I wouldn't say it's my parents, but I grew up with the idea that if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Now, obviously, I used to be bigger in the Eve content community space. When I got doxxed and people decided to get mad because of my background, obviously there was a big pushback. I was removed from the partnership program, and I haven't really worked with a lot of other creators too much since, because I don't want to complicate anything for anybody. So I just try to make my own stuff, and I appreciate all of the support I get from all of you because of that. I get to do this because you guys support me. In fact, lots of people ask, why am I still here? And the answer is because you guys support me. You guys find value in what I do. I'm glad about that. But as part of that, like, I have always believed that, like, Eve content creation is one of those things where it's like a rising tide raises all ships. I want us to have a good Eve content creator community. I think Eve is really good for content creators. And I think that content creators are a necessary part of the Eve universe. And Eve is uniquely good at being an interesting space for content creators to do stuff. Obviously, Eve Online has a content creator program that gives perks to content creators. In general, I would like to prop up content creators, talk about content creators I really like, showcase content creators that are good, etc. I'm not here to create drama in general. I'm already in a pretty vulnerable spot for myself. I'm not here to start any sort of beef with people. I mostly would like to be as positive about people as possible. That said, there are two content creators that I have known in my time that I have had more difficulty maintaining a positive attitude about than others. Now, what's nice about this is that in the end, both of these content creators, without any help from me, have kind of exposed themselves for who they are. The first one is, of course, Maldavius, who is Thor or Pirate Software. Not getting too deep into that, but besides the fact that I've talked about him before, and I've expressed that I have stories from before he became popular. We'll just say it that way. And he's a character. But the other person that I have up until now avoided talking too much about is Loru. I'm not talking about Fern because I don't, to be honest, I'll be frank, I don't respect Fern as a content creator enough for him to have this level of consideration. Fern, I didn't know who Fern was until he blew himself up. But Loru, though, Loru has been a hard one for me for years. And the reason why is because, first of all, and I'm just going to be outright about it, I can't stand his content. But that's like a me thing. He's obviously very, very popular. His way of presenting himself, one of the reasons why I've never really dug into him enough in order to formulate a firm opinion for myself is the fact that I literally can't bring myself to watch his content for very long. Just because of the way his personality is. Now, that said, though, I admit that he is doing it right. I mean, let's be absolutely upfront and frank. He's a better content creator than me in just numbers alone. Like, if you just look at like the polish of his content, his audience, etc., he is a better YouTuber than I am. He is doing YouTube right. In fact, what I normally like to say about him is that he is a YouTuber first and an EVE Online player second. So there's always been this kind of a little bit of, like, the darker side of it could be even considered jealousy, where it's like, I can tell that what he's doing is working for him and is objectively like the correct way to build an audience and to build a community if you want to be big. There's a reason why he's gotten big. I just don't want to do that. I don't want to be that kind of content creator. I'm happy to have the people that I have, and I would rather get the success that I have with the content and the style that I have than attempt to Mr. Beastify my production in order to game the algorithms, right? But he's one of those dudes that, like, I must admit, as far as being a successful content creator goes, he's got it right. Now, the thing about him, though, is that, and now I'm just going to be open about how I've always felt about him. The thing about Loru is that I have never, not once, had somebody come to me and be like, hey, I learned this from Loru's video, and had it not be in the context of, and it was bad. Now, part of this is because a lot of it, people come to me with like Abyss fits, or we're talking about Abyss ships or whatever. But the one thing I do hear from people about his content is people complaining about his guides, especially since I make my own guides, right? People come to me and talked about how his stuff is wrong, his fits are weird, you know, et cetera, et cetera. But again, I never really wanted to say anything about it too much, because who am I to judge? And I'm not willing to go and watch all of his stuff in order to actually see for myself what's wrong with it. I just can't bring myself to do it. But I always knew that a lot of people over the years, a lot of people have come to me and been like I said, anytime anybody's ever brought up to me something that Loru has taught or something has done, it has always been in the context of the fact that it was bad, you know? But again, like, he's a very entertaining guy. He's probably teaching the basics to people pretty well. And then that leads to the Pride Month situation. So during Pride Month, he came out with, there's the whole back and forth about him not wanting the pride flag in his Discord. And in the end, he actually banned the people who placed the pride flag on his, like, as a reaction on his Discord. And there's a whole thing about that. And he even made it a point to be, like, very snooty about it, because not only was the ban, even though it was a temp ban, but it was somebody was commenting with the pride flag. But I'll get to the. You're right. It was no flags, not to pride. I'm getting to that. I'm going to try to be as fair as I can in this situation, because you're absolutely correct. But the thing that triggers this is, of course, that brought this into the open was this idea of the pride situation, right? That's what really got a whole lot of negative attention on him recently. And so, but even then, though, I defended, and I've made a video on my Decanted channel. You can go check it out. It's called "This Is Not a Video About EVE Online," I'm pretty sure, where I tackle Fern's take of this situation. And even in that, I kind of addressed the Loru stuff. And I wanted to, at the time, to give him the benefit of the doubt. Because I, too, am a content creator. Hell yeah, rainbows in the chat, guys. Everybody, please, rainbows in the chat. Let's just make sure to get that lovely and clear. I support Pride. But that's kind of not the point here. The point here is I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt here, because I could appreciate... I mean, if you don't celebrate, then it's fine, too. That's a nice thing. Doesn't have to matter. I can appreciate him as a content creator who's trying to manage a community, right? And so this idea that he doesn't want anything real life to be in his content, I can see that as a way of trying to be accessible, right? Because that's what this is all about, right? He actually got in trouble because his community needs to be open and accepting as part of the EVE partnership program. That's what eventually got him hit. But you could argue that trying to avoid any kind of real life anything is a matter of we're just trying to make a safe space for EVE. Like, it should be a place for people who like Pride, and it should be a place for people who don't like Pride. It should be a place for people who like Ukraine. It should be a place for people that don't like Ukraine. Why? Because whether or not you like Pride, whether or not you like Ukraine, doesn't really directly relate to EVE Online. So if people are coming to enjoy my content or his content for the sake of EVE Online, they shouldn't have to deal with it in either direction, how they feel about it. And that's kind of the space that he was trying to make, or at least that's the goal that he was allegedly trying to put forward. Now, even there, though, there were some weaknesses to his argument. I used the word Ukraine, or I brought up Ukraine. I'm pretty sure it was Ukraine, because there is this whole thing where it wasn't just the pride flag, it was all flags. There was an event like about a month earlier where he was getting mad. I thought it was the Ukraine flag. It might have been a different flag, but people were posting that, and he was saying none of that too. Now, in that video, it was even funnier, because at the time he was wearing an American flag. So he was telling people to not post flags while he's wearing an American flag. And he even acknowledged a little bit the hypocrisy of that, but almost in like a, I can do that, it's my channel type of a thing. But the point is that there's already an accusation that could be made that even though his argument is about inclusivity, it's only being leveraged against the things that he does not like. He does cite that, like, oh, if it was a Christian flag, I would have not allowed that either. But that isn't what was happening. The examples that we have of him enforcing this rule are largely against things that he would not ideologically like. All that said, during that time, I argued, and I still argue, that I was on the side that he probably should not have been removed from the partnership program. The idea that now remember, the partnership program has different rules than so there's the EVE, I play the game, EVE terms of service rules. That's layer 1. Layer 2 is EVE content creator rules, which covers every content creator, no matter what. If you are making money from shit that involves EVE Online, you fall under the content creator rules, no matter what. And then the third is the creator program. The creator program is a lot of perks. They pay for your account. They give you special access. They give you free skins to give away or to use for your community, all that sort of stuff. And that has a separate layer of requirements. And that third layer is the one that the pride flag one got in face of, because like I said, that he has to create an inclusive community. And so the question then becomes, is the banning of things like the pride flag or other national flags creating a less or a more inclusive community? And in the end, FC made the decision to remove him from the partnership program. But even then, they said that he could win, or he could earn his way back in like 6 months or so, whatever. Because as I said at the time, I interpreted it as a content creator managing a situation live, and you could argue that he didn't really navigate it that well, but it didn't feel overly malicious or hostile or like something that it seemed like something that somebody could just learn from. I think it was for 2 or 3. I don't remember exactly the amount of time. So I'm giving it, like, I think that FC made a really good choice about that. That is not why we're talking about him today. Because, like, let's be frank. The reason why I can't stand Loru's content is because he comes across as a bit of a dick. Like, in just the way he's very egotistical, and like he's got that kind of vibes, which again, as a successful streamer, that's a big piece to all of this. Game has gone full woke, and they have people in the game reporting people for anything they don't like, and the devs are backing them. First of all, there are openly fascist organizations in EVE Online. There are people that spout racism and other stuff like that. And all but the worst of them are allowed to continue in EVE. So, like, we can argue about different moderation policies or whatever, but again, the partnership program has special requirements that are above and beyond the average player. A player could say that they don't want pride. You can make a corporation and tell people that anybody who's pro-pride gets kicked out of the corporation in EVE. And, you might get word decked because people don't like that, but I don't think FC would specifically come out and attack you for that. But it's different when a content creator who is supposed to be an ambassador for the game in a certain way, and maintain certain standards within their community, and FC can decide that they're not maintaining the correct standards for their community and remove them from the partnership program. Again, that's because that's a higher level of requirements. Now, but why are we talking about him today? Because he's already gone from the partnership program. The issue today has nothing to do with the Pride stuff per se, except for the fact that that just got people's attention on him, a negative attention on him. The reason why we're talking to him today is because a much, much, much more cut and dry problem. RMT. Now, we're going to talk a lot about the content creator policies. I probably actually should have looked it up. Hold on. Let me pull it up real quick. This is the EVE Online Content Creation Terms of Use. Now, the critical thing about this is that, as I mentioned earlier, this applies to every single content creator. If they are making YouTube videos, if they're making anything like that, then this falls under that, okay? So in this, it says, your content must be available free of charge to everyone and cannot be blocked behind a paywall or premium subscription. This is a critical thing. This is why earlier today, or earlier during the stream, I was pointing out the fact that while my edited videos are available early for people that support the stream, I do always ensure that my original videos, the live recordings in which they're recorded from, are available so you could go watch the content yourself for free. And it's this reason. I have a story about how important, how big of a deal this story is. Back when I was working with Talking Stations, there was an interview with Talking Stations in which there was a couple of us from Talking Stations that were interviewing a few of the like high-end people from CCP. I'm pretty sure it was like CCB Burger. I don't remember exactly which top dogs it was, but it was like the top dogs at the time. They do need, you're right, they do need to update this to say FC. That is correct. But the point is that we did this interview, and Matterall and all them, they did the editing for it, and then he released it for the patrons. And then he reached out to CCP and was like, hey, so the video's ready to go. We have it up for patrons. Do you have anybody, do you have an account? Should we send it to you so that if you guys want to review it early or get early access to it too, so that way you can see anything before we make it publicly available to everybody? And the response that we received from CCP at the time was not just, no, we don't want access to it early, but that we had to make that video available to everyone immediately, like by the end of that day. So the plans to release that video in a day or two was completely scrapped. We had to immediately make the video public. And the reason why was because CCP staff were part of that interview. And at the moment, the only way to have accessed that interview was to be a patron. And that was a violation. It was so serious that literally everything had to stop and we had to make that video available. So there has been some people posting stuff about Loru. Oh no, I didn't grab the video, the exact clip, but with this one, right? Like there's people talking about how he's got content that's behind a paywall. Now, I don't know necessarily, like there's too little information in this post to see whether or not that is an actual violation. Because again, just like with mine, if this content is available in some way, we're walking our way down a trail, by the way. So I'm not saying that this one is explicitly a big problem. Yeah, it can be a free pay. Exactly. This one was brought up as a TOS violation. And so I'm just pointing out there has been some accusations that he's got videos behind paywalls or whatever, and this has been brought up in the past. In my opinion, this probably doesn't count, not just because of what people are pointing out in chat right now, rightfully so, but also like if the VOD is still available, there could be other ways to get it that like makes it so that this isn't actually that bad and people are cherry picking it to make him look bad, right? But that's not what we're talking about today. I just wanted to make sure that we pointed out that we as content creators are held to extremely strict rules where it's like there are things that are okay and there are things that are not okay. And as people can make their whatever claims they want, but I'm here to say that the line is actually extraordinarily clear. And so that's what we're doing today. We're going over what is and isn't okay. So as far as I'm concerned, if this was an exclusive video that could only be gotten this way, then this would not be okay. But I don't think that that is what interesting. I always wondered why he declared so often everything is free. Exactly. You're not allowed to do that as an Eve content creator, period. And in my opinion, I don't have good evidence that he has actually stepped onto the wrong side of this particular problem. Now then, giveaways. If any in-game asset are used in giveaways to promote the popularity of your content or brand, there must be full parity between users who are viewing the content for free and those who are subscribed. And all viewers of the content must have the same access to giveaways and the same chance to win prizes, regardless of any subscription fees paid. In situations when CCP has sponsored the rewards, you must, in addition to the above, disclose the information conspicuously to all participants by adding the relevant description to your videos, stream titles, or other places it makes sense. Okay? And this is the critical one. This is one of the biggest ones that like really plays into things. Okay? We can also say that this one, you cannot monetize the content by generating revenue through appropriate, you can monetize content by generating revenue through appropriate passive advertisement, pre-roll ads, website ads, sponsor ads, overlays. Soliciting personal donations, offering subscription-based content is also permissible as long as A, this does not interfere with everyone's ability to view the content, and B, it is in line with the terms of use of the platforms used, and C, it features unique content created by you in the form of commentary, gameplay, graphics, animation, or cosplay. Okay, so what happened? There is a video. We will watch the short first. So this is a short by a content creator called Galaxier YT. This is kind of what started this weekend. Did this streamer commit RMT?
So some of you may know Loru. He is probably EVE Online's top creator. Multiple people have sent me a clip and have asked me to look at and question whether under the partner program, which Loru is not part of currently, or EVE Online's terms of service, would this possibly be classed as real money trading?
At the very last second, you dropped another $1,000. Beholden, you are getting a Sidewinder.
So what's happened, as you can see at the very top of the screen there, it says top dono Beholden with $3,500 donated to Loru in one stream. Crazy money, right? As a thank you, as Loru just said, as a thank you, he is giving him an Alliance tournament ship, which is only a certain amount of them.
So we just talked about Alliance tournament ships, actually. These things are fabulously valuable. Fabulously valuable. Trillions of ISK type of valuable. Almost uncountable in how valuable they are. And so the question then becomes, is this what really happened? So what this looks like is because Beholden donated $3,350, he gets this Sidewinder. Now, there are some there could be some questions about this. We got to ask ourselves, like, what is the context of this? Is it just trying to make it look bad? Did the person know? Was this like, what level of mistake this is? First of all, I want to point out, it does not fucking matter any of the details. It was still a mistake. Like this, even under the most optimal of analysis of this situation, it is absolutely, oh, no, easy. I'm getting there. It is absolutely, as it looks like now, even in the best case scenario, it is a problem, right? Even if he never mentioned ahead of time that he was going to give somebody something if they were a big donor, even if whatever, this would still be a problem. Now, let's talk a little bit about what you are and are not allowed to do. And let's talk about what you're allowed to do specifically, because this is I've talked to many streamers about this. I've talked to CCP FC a lot about this. Remember, I used to be way more involved in the actual community at one point. So this is one of those things that I would talk about a lot and counsel people about a lot, is how to do giveaways correctly, how to stay in line with the rules when it comes to RMT. Because actually, let's start with an example of where this goes poorly. Actually, hold on. No, we'll talk about what you can do. What you can do, so what he could have done is he could have been like, oh man, Beholden just donated $3,000. I'm so happy about that. Let's do a giveaway. I'm going to give away this Sidewinder because of that, right? And let's take this to the most extreme version of what we could do. All right, well, this stream is at the end. This is at the end of a 12-hour stream. So let's say this stream has been going on for 12 hours. People can have a certain amount of channel points because of the amount of time that they've watched it. Let's say you can apply for raffle tickets using your channel points, such that if you were watching this whole stream for 12 hours, you would have enough resources to get 12 raffle tickets. So I'm going to make a raffle for this Sidewinder, and you can get up to 12 tickets. So if you'd watch this entire stream from front to start, you will have those 12 tickets that you could apply in. If you haven't been watching it, then you only get the number of tickets that are with the amount that you've been watching it, right? Now, I really love my patrons. Yes, I'm not like, this is not even an argument. I'm telling you guys, I'm telling you guys facts. You can argue, you can disagree if you want, but this is just how this works. So, but I love, like, let's do the most extreme version of this. I love my patrons. I love my patrons so much. I want to give them everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take all of my patrons and I'm going to automatically add them to the giveaway. And I'm going to give them 12 tickets automatically. So everybody who's a patron, they all get 12 tickets automatically. And then anybody else who's been watching live, they can also ask for tickets. Now, the patron guys can't put in their own tickets. The most you can have is 12. And that's the critical thing here. All of this is okay because the person who is watching for free has the same probability of success, or has the ability to have the same probability of success as someone who paid for it. Now, if I gave my patrons 13 tickets instead of 12, guess what? I've now broken the rules. I cannot, if I do a giveaway, I can do a giveaway because I was given money. You know, if somebody gives me $1,000 right now, I will give away one of my Kimotoro skins. I'll say that right now. Somebody donates $1,000, I'll give away one of my Kimotoro skins. We'll do that. I can do that. Won't get me in trouble. Because when I do the giveaway, the fact that somebody donated $1,000 is not going to give that person any extra bonus to actually earning the skin. The only thing that he or she can do is trigger the giveaway by giving me $1,000, right? So that is kind of where the line is. You can do giveaways that are related to donations, but the giveaway itself must have equal probability between people that have paid and people who have not paid. And so the issue here, fundamentally, is that he's giving away a skin, or a ship rather, and the only people who are eligible to potentially get this giveaway are the people who donated for it. The rules behind it, the fact that it's the top donator, blah, 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 all that is almost less important. The bottom line is that a free watcher of the video does not have an equal chance of getting this Sidewinder than Beholden does. That is what makes this against the rules. But we got to ask ourselves, is there a meaningful context that might mitigate some of this? Did people know that this was part of it? Did he try to use it as a bait to get people to donate? Did people know, like, it doesn't even need to be that they need to know that there is a Sidewinder. They just need to know that there is some sort of in-universe, in-game perk that you get because of the fact that you're donating as a way of in this process. So to that end, we can go and check out this video where earlier in the stream,
Okay, so top
he says this.
donator needs to be honored. The current top donator is Beholden. Beholden, if you hold that spot, when that timer reaches 0, you will be given absolutely exclusive, expensive goodies. That's how we're doing this.
So he doesn't actually need to tell you what the thing is, but he does say that you are going to get exclusive goodies if you donate. And he even puts this timer here. And then later on in the stream, he says,
Thank you. You have to make sure that Beholden is understood that he is the guy right now. If he maintains that, he will be getting exclusive large items, the #1 donor.
He will gain exclusive large items. Now, if those exclusive large items were a t-shirt, he'd be perfectly fine. But because the exclusive large items becomes an AT ship, it could be anything. It could be a Skinner made by me. It could be, hey, the top donor gets an exclusive ability to fly with a fleet with me. You and me, we're going to go in Plex. It's just going to be you and me, and it's just going to be for you because you're my top supporter. Did you know that that could also get me banned? You're not allowed to FC for only your patrons. That's how strict this is, right? So unless he's referring to a t-shirt, this is already a big problem. Clip it, yeah. Now, the critical thing that is the final piece to this puzzle, if you want to take make a story about all this, if we go to the actual video itself, this is his live stream. Oh my God! What are you doing? Why are you animate AI slop garbage weird stuff? Any rate.
Make sure that Beholden is understood that he is the guy
so this
right
is
now.
This is the stream right here. This is the stream. It is 11 hours and 54 minutes. And he even says when this timer
if he maintains that, he will be getting exclusive large items. The #1 donator at the end of today's stream will be.
And what's weird is, what's crazy about this is if we go all the way to the end, first of all, he shows off his wife and his kids, which, I mean, I'm not, my son loves to to come onto the stream sometimes, so I can't really fault him for that. But the critical thing is, if we go all the way to the end of his stream, we go all the way to the end.
Yes.
We can see the timer's at 11 minutes, and it's ticking down, and we're skipping along, and we see. And also the Beholden is at $2,350, right? We do have some points in time in which somebody else was up there with over 1,000. But what's crazy about this is that if we watch this video, he gets all teary-eyed because of how much money it is, blah, 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 blah. And he starts doing the giveaways and stuff. But the timer's ticking down still, right? But then at around this point...
Nice. More ventures, but better. Love it. We're going to give that to the people. Multiple items, 6 million-esque with a bunch of Skinner stuff. A call for celebration. Congrats, family, as well. A lot of stuff. Elf Lord Ultra for the boys. That's right, baby. Vendy Blueprint. Vendy Blueprint. We got a
Giving
bunch
away
of
all this
goodies
stuff.
of chocolates. I have as a friend for a little Loru. Little Loru.
Hold on. Here we go. I mean, he's welcome to come and talk to me.
Thank you, Inverse. I'm trying to not ball.
And then it ends. And then his stream ends. His stream ends.
With billions.
With 9 minutes on the video and Beholden at 2,350. And we can see here that he has this notepad open and where he is and what he's looking at. And so then if we jump back to this clip, we can see that this is almost certainly the missing end to this video. Which means Loru has come back and edited his video, because you can cut stuff out of a video on YouTube, right? You can, if you want to add something to a video, you have to re-upload it, and it's a whole new thing. But you can always like cut a chunk out. I've done it plenty of times when there's like a copyright thing or like a little thing where something got shown or something happened where I wanted to cut it out afterwards. But this dude cuts this chunk out of his video, so he's trying to hide it, but thankfully this guy has it clipped. So that's your context. Pretty sure he didn't edit it. It just had connection issues. Then why doesn't it exist? Why does it end here at 9 minutes and then we have this clip, which is clearly what was taken afterwards? Maybe he didn't edit it. Maybe he didn't edit it. Either way, it doesn't matter because we can tell that this is the final piece. I don't know, man. That doesn't feel right either. My point is that this is clearly the same context. And so he said in the video twice that whoever has the top spot when this timer is over will get goodies. He then talks about Beholden multiple times, and in the end, he gives Beholden a Sidewinder, and he gives the second place person a bunch of large skill injectors, which means, like, we can talk about it all you want, but I haven't seen any good case for this not being a huge problem. You could try to claim that it's a mistake, but every single EVE Online content creator should know what the rules are. It's not confusing. It's not unusual. It's not whatever. Any EVE Online content creator should be able to see this and immediately identify that this is not a valid. It doesn't matter if it's a raffle or a auction or whatever you want to call it. It is by definition, by FC's definition, RMT, and therefore not okay. To give an idea of how serious this is, this reminds me of like, for those of you who are still like trying to be like, well, there's nuance here and all that stuff, let me tell you the story of Somer Blink. Now, in EVE right now, we have what's called the hypernet, right? The hypernet, you pay some ISK, you can get these tickets, and as soon as all of the tickets are bought, you know, people can put up a raffle. The raffle has a bunch of tickets. People buy the tickets. When all the tickets are purchased, immediately the raffle goes off, and the person who wins it, right? This is why I watch Ash. He also has the most granular tanks. Excellent, thank you. Yeah, no, the flag thing is what exposed him, right? Because there has been some concerns about how Loru conducts himself on his streams in the past, but in the end, like, he was always partner, you know, nothing ever happened, you know, all that stuff. I think that the flag situation and him being removed from the partnership program and the negative publicity that came from that, like, exposed him to this level of criticism. So this could be as big of a deal as it was. So, okay. So Somer Blink is the original guy who did this idea of the instant raffle. That's why it was called a Blink, right? So he had a website, and so he would do the raffles. So there'd be like a Nyx being raffled, right? And there's like 16 different tickets, and you buy a ticket, and when all the tickets were bought, he would do the raffle, and the winner would get the Nyx, just like the hypernet. The hypernet was literally based off of Somer Blink's system. So why doesn't Somer Blink still exist? Well, here's the problem. There's another guy named Marquis Dragon. Marquis Dragon's fine. You know what? You know who knows how to stay on the right side of the rules no matter what? Marquis Dragon. He's been around here doing this longer than anyone else. He's more embedded with these guys more than anybody else I know. He's a smart, savvy, and honestly talented content creator. But he also has a secondary store. Like, he's been doing this for so fucking long that he's actually a secondary reseller for a lot of different games, but including EVE Online. And before Plex even existed as a concept in EVE, there were game time cards. And game time cards were able to be sold by official resellers. And Marquis Dragon was one of those official resellers. So Marquis Dragon is a good place to go and get your EVE stuff. You know, he's done everything from collector's editions and stuff. He is an official reseller of EVE Online. And yeah, he basically, you could argue Marquis Dragon is the reason why we have Plex. Okay. So I'm not saying anything bad about him as a content creator, right? Or as in this regards, he knows how to make the rules work for him, right? But so you can buy Plex from Marquis Dragon. Now, the problem actually came from the fact that Marquis has creator codes in the same way that a lot of stores have creator codes. So Somer from Somer Blink had a Marquis creator code. So the idea is that if you buy Plex from Marquis, you would get the Plex from Marquis. But if you used Somer's creator code, then Somer would credit your account with a certain number of ISK. Because the way that his website worked was that you would basically contract him ISK to a certain character. And he had an API that would scrape that and be like, oh, this character sent me this much ISK. And so it would add that ISK to your balance on the Somerblink website. So you would send him ISK that gives you ISK in the balance on his website, and then you use that ISK to bid on auctions. And then if you won, you would win, right? Well, if you bought Plex from Marquis using Somer's code, he would credit your account with a certain amount of ISK. Now, he wouldn't give you that ISK. You would still have to go and use that ISK to like buy a ticket and then win a thing. But the point of the matter is that Somer was giving you ISK for free if you bought Plex using his creator code from Marquis Dragon. And the other half of this problem is the fact that Marquis Dragon, because of the creator code system, gives a small kickback to the person whose code gets used. This is a very normal marketing thing, right? So what this means, those two things together means that Marquis Dragon is giving you a certain amount of ISK, and then, Somer is giving you a certain amount of ISK for buying Plex from Marquis, and then Marquis gives Somer money, cash, actual real currency. And that means, indirectly, Somer is giving you ISK for money that he's receiving. And it did not matter that they had this complex system where it's like, actually, it was Marquis and blah, 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 blah. Did not fucking matter. Somerblink was banned with no warning, no recourse, never restored. No, that was, and it was a firm statement by FC, then CCP, that this is not okay, that it does not matter how complex your operation comes. If there's some way to measure it where in-game stuff, either assets or services or whatever, is being turned into real-life money for any reason, that is against the rules. And that's why one of the things that like a lot of people that do art for EVE Online have to like work with CCP to have that art be officially licensed for them to be able to sell it, or, you know, all that kind of stuff. Because this is very, very serious about this sort of stuff. Loru's gotten away with a warning in this case. That's crazy. Because God, I hate taxes and needless regulation. I mean, the thing is that this is serious stuff, right? Like, you want there to not be RMT. And so there has to be a line, and the line has to be clear, right? It's not muddy. Any yes is a yes. And so I would argue that this is an incredibly clear example of Loru. Loru is claiming that the items were removed and no bans. That is, look, the name of this segment after it's being edited out is just, we need to be done with Loru. I don't care anymore. I pulled my punches when it came to Loru, when it came to the whole Pride stuff for various reasons, mostly because I had bigger fish to fry with Fern. But like, I've watched this now for a while, and I'm just going to say that, like, I don't think that Loru is good for us in EVE Online. The content that he makes is like subpar at best, just based on the feedback that I've received from people as far as like its guidance and advice within the game. People are lamenting at the fact that like he's the only newbie friendly person that's like the content creator left. First of all, ouch, that stings. But also, like, I don't think that he's a good ambassador for EVE Online. And I think that this is an incredibly dangerous precedent to put forward now, because again, there's a lot of different content creators raffling. There's raffles and all this sort of stuff. This is an issue that like a lot of content creators have to wrestle with. And in my opinion, the only thing that makes this work is how cut and dry the rule is, right? Like, there are things that are on one side of the line and there are things on the other side of the line. And the thing that I respected about the Somerblink one was like, when you cross the line, you get burned. Either way, it is up to you to know not to get burned. And of all of the things to get, I feel like this is a mistake. I think that because now anyone else who runs into this mistake, what happens if FC tries to, if somebody, like, Now, the problem is now the issue is muddy. Now, there's a world in which if you get caught, it might still be okay. And the other thing that really bothers me about this is that I don't know... I don't know if he's done this before. This kind of stuff before. I've seen accusations about him doing stuff like this before. But there's a part of me that makes me really concerned that the dude just doesn't give a shit anymore, right? Like, you would think that somebody, like, okay, giving him the absolute benefit of the doubt with the whole, like, the pride thing, right? I want to believe that he was a content creator trying to create a neutral space that's away from any modern politics in the real world, and he just mismanaged it in the moment because of what was going on, and other people were being antagonistic and whatever. He navigated that poorly, but as a content creator that does stuff live, I sympathize with people navigating such a thing poorly live. Now, again, he's the only person that I know of who have ever been removed from the partnership program with the comment of, we were on the fence about this, and if he does okay, he can come back to it. If this happened to me, I would be on my best behavior, right? I would be working with CCP or FC constantly to make sure what I was doing was okay and all that stuff, because I want to get back into the good graces of people. He's a showman, so I don't necessarily see like the bitterness or whatever in his performance here, but I can't help but feel that this is the behavior of someone who has just stopped giving a shit, right? That, like, this feels like the kind of flagrant mistake that a content creator would make when you've stopped respecting the rules because you're bitter about a decision that was acted upon you that you don't feel is fair. And I don't know if I necessarily have the evidence for that, because again, I'm not watching his streams enough to be able to like pull together the evidence for that. But that is the splinter in my brain that makes me be like, what causes a content creator to cash out like this? And it's not quite like, it's not malicious. He's not explicit. It's obviously he's not like explicitly trying to cash out as fast as possible. I don't think that this was like the plan. I've seen some people joke around about that. I just think that in his heart, he feels that he was wronged by the decisions that were made in the previous event, and he may feel betrayed. And so his willingness to be the good guy may be reduced. And I think that only getting, first of all, I would have said that the person who won the thing should have been able to keep it. So I actually think that FC did the exact opposite thing that they should have done. Because the person who got it, like, he didn't know he was going to get it, and like, whatever. Now that guy just gave him $3,500 and then was told that he's going to get, like, now he feels bitter about that. Like, the whole situation's such a mess now. And I think it's just gross. Like, maybe this is a good time for us to all sit back and think about how we deal with this sort of stuff. But my biggest thing is that, like, this action does not come from a person who respects the institutions that has empowered him and given him his platform. So I don't know if this is part of some major crash out where he's cashing out to go do the next thing, or if this is just a lack of respect, or maybe this is just how he's always been. But the point is that, like, this can't be okay. And at this point, I'm not willing to say that Loru is a good streamer. I've never heard anything good about his content and what it actually teaches people. I think that, I'll be frank about it, and this is personal for me, watching him run things on like official F3 streams, like hosting FanFests and stuff, I think that honestly he's one of the weakest hosts that they've ever had, because he's too smarmy and egotistical. And I think it would be good for him to get his comeuppance. And I think that any sort of attempt to rehabilitate him in the community at this point is burned. Now, I don't know necessarily. I'm actually curious. I'm not going to necessarily I have some ideas about who could be good Eve streamers, but I'm also interested. Please let me know in the comments below, especially if this is the edited out video. Let me know who you would recommend for players to watch and check out besides myself. This is also a really good a reason why, please guys, I do make a lot of good guides and videos about helping people and teach people about EVE Online. And I do a bunch of giveaways. And you know what? I usually just give shit away. If you're part of our convocation, if you need something in EVE, just hit me up. And if I can help you, I will. Not because I need your money or not because you paid me or whatever, but because of the fact that I'm here to maximize player engagement with EVE Online. Because I feel that a more informed, more engaged player base makes a better EVE Online. And I think that EVE Online is important. I think that there's a reason why EVE Online is in the Museum of Art. I think that what we're doing here is important. And I think that it's worth something. I think that there's a reason why people who don't play EVE, that don't play video games, study our shit. I think there's a reason why there are college courses about EVE Online. And when I see shit like this, it makes me so frustrated. So please, if you could consider, like my streams, share them with people. Obviously, there are lots of people that have bad things to say about me because of my past. But you know what? If you want to keep real life out of it, I am here just talking about EVE Online on this stream or on this channel. And I'm here to make people help out with new players, with guides, with whatever you want. Please consider supporting the channel either by liking, commenting, subscribing, sharing it with friends, becoming a patron, supporter. I absolutely promise you, no matter how much money you give me, I will not give you a Sidewinder. Period. So why does this feel like the punishment for the people who donated to Loru? Just get away scot-free? Punish the people who donated and Loru just got away scot-free? I agree, Gizmo. This really does feel like the person who lost out was the person who lost. Somebody really believed in Loru's stuff. And so he gave him $3,000. And then he was told that he was that he was going to get an AT ship for it, after being told multiple times that his donations would be rewarded. And now his name is being besmirched. He didn't get his AT ship. He doesn't have his $3,000. And his favorite content creator is probably going to burn for it all. And like, yeah, I think that he's the person that lost the most, probably. This is the typical response to people who blatantly RMT. Yeah, I'm just saying, like, you guys ganging up on him? I'm not ganging up on him. I've talked to plenty of people on plenty of different occasions. Like, this is just a cut and dry thing. This is the definition of what FC says is RMT. So if you're a content creator and you think that this is okay, it's not. And to those people that, like, there's a lot of people that are like, oh, well, what about all the smaller content creators that are doing that? If they're breaking the rules like this, guess what? All of them need to be in trouble too. Like, if all of them are going to get in trouble, then Loru should get in trouble. And if Loru is going to get in trouble, then all of them should be getting in trouble. Like, that's just, you can do raffles, you can do giveaways. So many content creators for years have done marbles, have done IS giveaways. You know what? Players want to give you stuff. You know how Loru got that Sidewinder? He didn't fucking earn it himself, right? People give content creators stuff as a way to do giveaways. I'm doing a giveaway for a Legion skin on Friday, right? So there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. And if you're a content creator, you have the responsibility to know the right way to do it. And that right way to do it is that every single person, paid or not person, a paid person and a not paid person must have equal chance of getting any results of any giveaway that you have. That's period, the end. You are not allowed to give any in-game special treatment, services or products, or like in-game items, because of the fact that someone did or didn't give you money. That is just not allowed. And if this is a wake-up call to everybody, then let it be that. But that is just, it's never been allowed, and it's not allowed, and it has to be a hard line. My apologies, but who gives the streamer $3,000? Honestly, I mean, look, I will also say I've seen some crazy shit. Don't get me wrong. And you never know. I've had people that have donated enough money to me that after the stream, I have to like hit them up and be like, hey man, now you need to explain to me why it's okay for you to have sent me this much money. Like, I need to make sure that you're not like, your mom's not, or your wife's not going to get mad at you. You're not going to lose your rent or anything like that. And, you know, get assurances and stuff, because people do crazy stuff with their with their loose money. And what is $3,000 might be a lot to some of us, but it's also not a lot to a lot of people. My favorite story about that, actually, like true story, and I'm not going to give anybody names, and it's long enough in the past that you're never going to figure out who it was, so it's fine. So there's this guy who ended up gifting a bunch of subs and donating a bunch of money. It was a bunch of stuff all at once that triggered that whole, like, all right, man, now I need you to tell me, like, why this is okay. And he goes, oh, yeah, don't worry about it. I'm a lawyer. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, because I mean, like, I have a couple of lawyers in our, that's cool, you know, whatever. And he's like, oh, yeah. You know, what kind of lawyer is he? He's like, oh, yeah, you know, I know a guy who's a lawyer for a children's hospital. And he's like, oh, yeah, that's a good lawyer. Yeah, I'm not one of those. So he never actually told me what he was, but I think he was like he was like a lawyer for like an oil company or whatever. But like, he made sure that I understood that what was this massive thing to me was nothing to him. And you know, so you never know with people when it comes to this kind of stuff. But the point of the matter is, it is up to the content creator to know where the line is. And the line is that if you're going to give something away, whether it be service or item or anything like that, when it involves EVE Online, you are not allowed to give any special preference to someone who's paid versus not. That means that you can't make your videos only available to people who have paid. That means you cannot make your fleets only available to people who have paid. It means that you cannot make your art only available to people who have paid. It means that you cannot make your items only available to people who have paid. That's just not the way it works. And that's why my entire organization is built up the way it is. I give away things to people based on like their affiliation to the Convocation of Empyreans or, you know, other stuff like that. You know, just because you've paid into my stuff, like, I can thank you, and it makes me warm my heart when I get an opportunity to do stuff for people who support the stream and support my show and support me. Like, it makes me very happy when I can like do something in particular for someone like them, but it'll never be anything that I wouldn't have done for somebody who hadn't paid. Right? That's how it has to be. You can argue about it if you want, but that's just how it has to be. That's how this works. And again, I like the idea of getting somebody to send no, I'm a po' boy. That's why we're fundraising to get me a refurbished card. Anywho, like, I would even be okay with him doing, like I said, here's the thing about this, man. I'm sure he has merch. He could have given the person a fucking t-shirt. You can give away whatever the fuck you want. You give me $3,000, I'll give you a t-shirt. In fact, actually, down below, there are merch available here, including my brand new As Above, So Below sticker, which you can also get on other things too. Ace Face is pretty cool. Ace Face is a good one. I like Ace Face. He's on my good list for sure. But my point is that, like, if you want to think about it, especially people that are trying to defend this, he didn't have to give away a Sidewinder. He could have given away merch, and that would have been perfectly legal and perfectly fine, and he would be in no trouble whatsoever. There were other ways he could have rewarded his main person or his donators without breaking the toss. The toss that is very, 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 very clear, and every content creator should know about, and every partner, which he was, does know about. I refuse to believe he did not understand the rules. All right. If he's blatantly performing RMT like Loru did on that stream, Fenris needs to make sure he never gets on Tranquility again. Who? I agree. I mean, like I said, and this is why I've talked to so many content creators back in the day and like trying to counsel them on where the line is, because sometimes people get iffy about it. And that's why I gave the example that I did, where you can make it so there's tickets. You know, you can make it so that a person that pays you, your patrons, get automatically involved in every single raffle. As long as in the end, a person can, in theory, have equal chance to get the reward as someone who paid, then that's finezo, right? Back when I did giveaways, I would do that, where it's like every single one of my top patrons get automatically into every single one of my giveaways. You don't even have to be watching my stream. but you still have the same chance of getting the success as the person who is in my stream, who has been watching the whole time. You don't actually have to pay. Wish you would have said something sooner about that card. I literally just gave away my 3070 Ti. Oh no, more car. I mean, I have mentioned stuff before, but I appreciate the thought. What Loru did is horrible for Eve. I would say that not only to re-emphasize what Noisy's saying, which, by the way, Noisy knows his shit too. Noisy's been around for a little while. You're not just arguing with the nobody. Noisy probably understands more about the finances and the business side of EVE Online than almost any other players, because he's been paying attention to this shit forever, longer than I've been playing or been making content, I'm pretty sure. But the point of the matter is that this precedent is devastating for EVE Online. People already have problems with the marble streamers and other stuff like that. The issue here is that if you make that line muddy of where RMT is, you have now made it a mess for every other content creator. Like this, the whole system worked because the precedent of the fact that the line was hard. And now that the line is soft, it's going to be even more muddy and messy to figure out, like, well, what is okay for marbles, what is okay for raffles, etc., etc. That's not even getting into like how this might complicate things with Twitch, etc. I'm not honestly, like, I have seen stuff commented about how this is a Twitch violation as well. I can't really speak to that because all I remember was that EVE Online's requirements were more strict than Twitch's requirements. So I never really focused too much on Twitch's requirements, because as long as I was conforming to CCP's requirements, I was good. I knew that. For a free skin, I can give you a 1660 for a giveaway. There you go. Last time EVE went through this was back in 2015, 2016. You're talking about, I mean, like you're basically referring to. But that's why I brought up the whole thing with EVE Universe, or not EVE Universe show, but the Talking Stations thing, right? When you want to talk about how serious this is, literally, they had an edited video, or they had a video of an interview with CCP devs that were behind a paywall for a week, and that was considered an RMT offense, and if it didn't get corrected immediately, that was one. I mean, that was a mistake. He was given the opportunity to correct it immediately, and they immediately did, which is why it was okay. But like, that was a violation. If that's a violation, then giving away stuff to paid members is unquestionably so. The casino ban was pretty huge. CCP actually created the policy back then before it was word of mouth. I know that there's a lot. So that whole time period was a lot when it came to understanding the monetization and partner, or like community support. I remember there was stuff about the API. Remember Noisy when they tried to charge everybody like $5 to become an API developer? You know, that was about the same time period. So you're right. I mean, like, it might not have been so super locked down before then, but I remember, I mean, like, it has never been okay to do that. So the Loru pulled Dave Chappelle white guy argument. Sarmer officer, I didn't know I could do. I don't know if he claimed that he didn't know how to do it, didn't know he could do that. But my claim is that there's absolutely no way that he shouldn't have known that he couldn't do that. Hey, Ash from the old player. Seer of Dark 07. How's it going, man? I remember your name. For sure, for sure. Any news? And that's one of the things, is that I'm curious to see where this goes from here. The fact that Loru is trying to backpedal actually flies in the face of my original theory of, like, Loru's trying to cash out, or that Loru's bitter about it. This could, like, that. The fact that he's fighting to remain part of things is an indicator that this might have been an honest mistake. I struggle to think of how this could be an honest mistake, but at this point, I think that Loru either needs to not have the open support of the community, or, like, I mean, nobody's beyond redemption. I'm certainly not one to say that somebody's beyond redemption, but at this point, Loru's going to have to change his tone quite a bit before I'm willing to say positive things or even neutral things about him again. Going good, jumping back into Eve, and the same thing is coming up now. Feels like the same old day. Hey, the more things change, the more things stay the same, right? Remember, the complication is recruiting. This is not bad at all. This is the worst example of the worst version of bad things to happen in EVE Online that I have seen. This is the most clear-cut example of explicit RMT by a content creator in a world in which RMT is considered one of the worst things to the overall balance of this game. So I will push back on any sort of idea that this is not bad at all. This is unacceptable with the way that the game is actually built. It's not that crazy though. Giving away an item that's very rare in EVE because somebody gave you $3,000 is bad. Why is RMT bad? Oh, that's a good question. Why is RMT bad? I think that so I remember Josh Strife Hayes changed my mind a lot about pay to win kind of concepts, because like what he presents, because I would have argued in the past that it does cause legal problems. That has its own has its own thing, right? That's the first line of defense, right? Where if a Sidewinder is actually worth $3,000, then that's a huge problem for both Loru, the guy he gave it to, and CCP. If you could say that the Sidewinder has a value of $3,000 in actuality, that makes it into a real life tradable commodity, and that's a big problem. This is honestly a big thing of like why EVE Frontiers is built so much differently than EVE Online, is to get around potentially that problem. The second thing, as Waffles points out, yeah, only CCP can do RMT. We'll get to that in a second. But as I said, with Josh Strife Hayes' video about pay to win, he makes this really compelling argument that like the virtual world should be a measure of your contribution to that virtual world. And as soon as you start making your real life wallet mean more about than the game, then that becomes a big problem. Even if it's just buying access, it doesn't have to actually be a power, like a win button, any sort of like blah, blah, blah. So to that end, Plex does count as pay to win by Josh Strife Hayes' definition. And pay to win has a caustic nature to the actual game itself, in the fact that well, now people can just wallet warrior their way in. And we see the effects of that all over the place, right? People complaining about, oh, well, CCP is making this change or introducing this new capital in order to get people to buy skill injectors. Because we like inherently, intuitively understand the corruptive nature of having real life money involved in the actual going-ons of the video games. So yeah, CCP does, or FC does RMT through Plex, and that already causes issues with the balance of the game. But it's a kind of issue that we have grown to a certain amount of tolerate or balance around or understand, right? But what happens when people can do RMT is it fundamentally changes the rules for why people are playing the game. Because the problem is that like you got to think about it, like think of these massive empires that are able to harvest huge amounts of ISK or resources, right? You already have problems where people are willing to fight tooth and nail and to go out of their way. Snuff already does massive amounts of effort in order to control certain areas, in order to control certain resources, in order to solidify and increase their wealth, right? As soon as you allow the transfer of money to go the other direction, you run into a gigantic fucking problem. This is the whole idea of like play to pay or pay to earn or play to earn games, right? Where as soon as you get the ability for somebody to cash out their ISK into money in any way, you have now changed the incentive structure for why people might be playing the game. Okay, this goes back to World of Warcraft and gold selling and stuff, right? Like, if you allow people to sell gold, then now there is an real life economical value to gaining gold in World of Warcraft. So now it is a business decision to farm gold in World of Warcraft. It's not just you like World of Warcraft and you want a new item in World of Warcraft. You want a business. And so you're going to form an entire business that's about harvesting gold and then selling it. This is literally where Steve Bannon got his start, was selling gold in World of Warcraft. So as soon as you allow people to produce real life wealth out of their video game play, you have now changed the incentive structures, changed the reason why players are playing the game. CCP FC is running the game because they want to make money, right? Sure, they like, it's a cool story and everything like that, but like FC's and the existence of EVE Online for FC is designed to be a moneymaker for them. They're a corporation. That's what it's for. And so them making money off of access to it, or off of selling things in it, or selling skill points or whatever, makes sense. That's what it's there for. But the player, yeah, no, I'm not kidding. But the player who's able to make money off of it is doing something very, very different. Their job is to now, like, play that game in a way that allows them to acquire the resources for them to make their money, which means it increases the, like, bot farmers, all that kind of stuff becomes worse, because now there's a reason. If people could actually make a living off of it, then why wouldn't you bot farm? Like, there's no counter incentive at that point. If you can turn your real life value or your in-game value into real life value in any way, shape, or form, then that becomes the reason for some people to do it. And they don't actually care about the game itself, just the value that they can extract from it. It creates an incredibly perverse incentive that even the smallest bit of it changes the way that you want people to get their accounts hacked more. You want more of a mess when it comes to botters out there. It's already bad enough that people can sell ISK, but because people can buy ISK with Plex, that offers this legal, valid system to do this RMT that actually supports the game. Whereas if a player was allowed to do that level of RMT, it actually incentivizes the player to play the game very, very differently and in a very destructive way. And so it's actually good that FC sells Plex as a way of undermining those people that are trying to play upon, like, people that are willing to do, people are going to be willing to spend money on ISK. And so the fact that CCP FC offers a way for people to do that that's legitimate means that legitimate people are going to do it that way. If they didn't offer that, then all that was going to be left is these illegal ISK sellers. And those illegal ISK sellers are extracting money for all kinds of different things. You don't know what they're for. Like, this is just, they're already abusing the system. They don't give a shit about your game. They don't give a shit about New Eden. They don't give a shit about your alliances. They care about making the numbers go up. And they're abusing the game to do so. And if you allow any RMT whatsoever, then you go down that road very, very quickly. And, like, look at this example, right? We already have to ask ourselves, is he doing this because he's cashing out his value? You know, a lot of us make a lot of ISK in EVE. And if we could cash out our ISK in some way or another into money, that would change everything, which is why we only can do so in things like Plex for Good. FC has given us tools to do that. We can donate our Plex in order to do donations for charitable goods. That's like the one valid way for you to be able to cash out your ISK and in-game resources for real life money and value, is through things like Plex for Good. And to do anything else creates an entirely perverse and corruptive incentive to the actual game itself, which is ultimately destructive. It's already bad enough to the balance of the game, that FC does allow RMT as a way of buying power within themselves. But at the same time, they're the ones that need the money in order to make, like, that the game needs to make money. That's a monetization path for them, which is valid. And we still, they still need to adjust around it and make it so that the game survives in spite of that. The game was never designed and was explicitly designed around the idea that you cannot turn EVE Online into your job, like real life job. And by, I say that as a person who made EVE Online into a real life job. You know, I have to make it through content creation. I have to make it through donos. I have to make it through YouTube videos and stuff. I don't get to, like, can you imagine, like, if I knew that I could cash out my ISK for whatever, then yeah, of course I'd be spinning plexes and stuff like that, or spinning havens or whatever in order to get ISK, because that's my paycheck. That's why you can't do it. Lots of talking. Bots have farmed resources in EVE since before any organized RMT market scaled up, and bots exist in the game with zero RMT market at all. Yeah, they exist. Think of how much worse it would be if there's a business that was like, oh shit, we can make thousands of dollars a month doing this. Like, that's, you're already getting people that are only incentivized with in-universe incentives doing all of this, breaking the rules, botting and whatnot. How much worse if a corporation that doesn't care about the game can just see it as a way of doing a business to extract value and wealth? EVE is the environment, not the method, Ash. Right. Well, it's both, right? Well, I mean, yeah. EVE is one of the best MMOs out there when it comes to handling RMT. I mean, to be fair, I agree with that. And that's because I like to say it's pay to lose, right? Because ultimately, having the stuff isn't going to be, that isn't what's going to win, right? You can pay and get a Nyx, but all you're doing is becoming an expensive kill mail. Money from content creation is more than T6 Abyss is per hour, right? Not right now. If anybody wants to donate and change that, then maybe. And yeah, you could argue that, yes, there are bots in here, but like those bots, that's the level of bots that exist and operate within the game, with it being actively suppressed, your ability to transfer that ISK into real life money. There's already accusations of RMT within places like Fraternity and other major alliances. How much worse would it be if they could just literally do it and not have it be a big, like, kerfuffle about it, right? What if Fraternity could just legitimately become an empire that generates possibly hundreds of $1,000s a month, like in real life? What that would fundamentally change the way the entire game works in a way that just could not be the entirety of EVE Frontiers is kind of a thought experiment of how to actually make this possibly work, and even that is a huge if. Illegal RMT businesses already operate at massive scale without any legal cover. Yeah, gold farming operations, and wow, you're right. They do operate still, and that's with all of this active suppression. How much more if it wasn't actively suppressed? Imagine no player or a character transfer, illegal RMT character purchases with 100% X, 100X. It's just like you can't sell characters except for through the character bazaar. Everything has to stay within in-universe value. The number doesn't matter. You still view money as number when you act, when it is fact energy. Oh, that's, yes. I love that comment. That's a whole nother rabbit trail. Right now, Loru is claiming that no bans will happen and nothing from FC yet. Multiboxing is legal. Imagine if Omega botting is allowed, but only against NPCs, not in PvP. Look, multiboxing is a whole separate issue. But again, allowing RMT would only make that issue worse. Because again, right now, the only thing a multi-boxer in theory has as a motivation is in-universe productivity. What happens if a multi-boxer can turn that into out-of-universe productivity, real-life productivity? What if you could pay your rent by VNI ratting, or not VNI ratting, but you know what I mean? I showed my age. But you know what I mean? Like, how much more toxic would this all be? A skin giveaway broke the game? It was not a skin giveaway. That's one of the stronger ships in the whole game. When the Eve population would explode, the game is saved. Multi-boxers already make the game suppressed. There are so many people that don't want to play the game now, not because the game is bad, but because multi-boxers are ruining everything. Pay to earn. There's actually a really good video. Again, Josh Ripay is talking to Calum. Oh shit, I can't remember his name. Either way, they were talking about pay to earn, or play to earn, because like Frontiers is kind of arguing that they're going to go this way too. But we have things like Diablo's auction house and other stuff like that, which by the way got shut down because of how poorly, or like how bad of an idea it ended up being. But this idea that like there, especially in like the late 2010s, early 2020s, we had this idea of like, oh, well, you could make money playing this video game. But the issue with that, as they pointed out in the video I'm talking about, that only works when like the game, people play the game because they want to play the game. If people are going to pay you for something from the game, it has to be something that like they don't want to do it themselves, because it has to be worth extra money. So there's this weird, bad, perverse incentive for play to earn games where it's like the gameplay itself has to be bad. Otherwise, playing it wouldn't be valuable to someone who's willing to pay money to not play it, or to not go through it, right? To not farm it like you did or whatever. Like, trust me, we had a few years where we danced around the idea of play to earn, and I'm firmly on the side that it's not a good idea. Oh, the Pally skin. Yeah, the Pally skin is a big one too, but again, that's just a lot of money, or a lot of value. I gotta imagine there's crazy government regulations around generating real wealth from a game. Again, and that's a good point. Going all the way back to the beginning, as soon as you start opening up this box, it gets really ugly really fast. There was already a problem where I remember years ago there was a group that convinced a player to buy Plex to fit up a carrier with like a really expensive fit, and then jump to them so then they could kill them and then steal their stuff, take the stuff from them. And in the end, they didn't get in trouble for it, but there was real questions about that, because they convinced somebody to spend real life money to get a thing, knowing that they were going to rob him of it. And again, the only thing that protected anyone involved in that, including CCP, was the fact that in the end, everything in Eve, we put value on it, right? This guy said it was worth $3,000. We can talk about it, Plex and all that stuff. But as far as like the reality of it is, nothing in Eve is worth anything in real life, except for maybe, Plex, obviously. You could argue that. But like, in the end, that carrier, its modules and all that stuff, when he paid money in order to get the stuff, he turned it into something that doesn't have a real monetary value, because it's all owned by CCP. These are not things. This wasn't one player who owned a thing and then another person took it from them, because that player that had that carrier never really owned that carrier. You do not really own anything you have in EVE Online. It is still FC stuff. Everything you have, your character, all its stuff, all of your ISK, all of your ships, none of it belongs to you. It all belongs to FC. You just get the right to play with it. That's why they can ban your account. That's why they can take things away if they want to. They don't need to justify it. They don't need to explain it. They don't need to say, oh, this is worth this much. Again, there's some things when it comes to the Plex transactions and people buying stuff from FC, the actual cash transactions. But that's the reason why this game and a lot of other games do this whole thing. It's why they do go into like secondary currencies in a lot of games, because it's like, if we can get it away from the thing that's transferable between money and the in-game world, then we can now say that everything's worth nothing for real. And then laws no longer apply to the weird shit that's happening. We do not want Texas avocado law to actually apply to EVE Online. That needs to stay a joke. That needs to stay a meme. And as soon as you start officially allowing things like RMT, you start officially allowing things to actually have, you can show evidence that something is worth a certain amount of money, right? Like if this was allowed to happen, you could argue that now a Sidewinder is worth $3,000, which could have effects on anybody who owns a Sidewinder. It could have effect on CCP. There could be all kinds of issues. This entire fucking dream of ours, this fever dream of EVE Online and New Eden of ours, works because in the end, none of us really own it, and it's all actually CCP stuff or FC stuff on FC servers. That's one of the things that makes all of this possible. That's why what seems like maybe a small thing for some people is that crack that breaks the rules and makes the thing that makes this all work. It destroys the illusion, right? It destroys the fabric that makes this gameplay, the way that EVE functions, good. It was a Marshall and a Concord Victory skin, not a Sidewinder. It was given away in the end. And why does he say a Sidewinder?
Trading.
At the very last second, you dropped another 1,000.
So
Okay.
what's happened?
Hold on.
Crazy, which EVE Online chance to subscription to very grey area.
Did he not?
So some of
does
you
he not
may
say it?
know,
Hold on.
question whether trade.
Am I wrong? Hold on. Google doesn't know what Texas avocado law is? Oh no. He says it? Okay. I swear
Under
I
the
can't.
partner program, which is real money trading.
At the very
As Loru's just said, as a thank you, he is giving him a land. One of them has said to me,
you are also getting, in addition to the Sidewinder.
There he goes. So he says Sidewinder. I'm always curious why they kill the ship. Why not just disembark? Some people do. Okay, Texas avocado law is just a meme. So, there's been plenty of opportunities in EVE Online where people like crash out or freak out or whatever, and like people antagonize people in order to crash out. And it was just like, whenever there's somebody crashing out, it always turns out that they are a lawyer or, whatever. Like there's somebody that gets like super fucking, like they get scammed or ridiculed or something, and then they freak out in the comments or whatever. And one of them, and I don't even remember the whole story of which one this particular one was, but like there's this whole thing about this guy was a lawyer and a Texas lawyer, and like, so he knew the rules and all that kind of stuff. I'd have to look up the exact thing. I just remember the meme because it was Texas avocado lawyers. Maybe Noisy remembers better than I do. But it was just, it just happened to be one of the epic crash outs of all time from EVE players. Did they ever have issues with that game Second Life, I think it was, where people bought real? Well, again, like, so some games can be set up to be able for that, but their lawyers have to be ready for it, and the system has to be ready for it. And EVE Online happens to be one of the games that have decided to not go down that route. I'm not saying it's impossible. EVE Frontiers is trying to do a system that allows this to be possible. But, for EVE Online, the rule is no RMT. Yeah. Well, yeah, you're right. I think I combined two different memes. I think there was a Texas law, and there's something about avocado law. God damn it. Now I'm going to have to look it up. Hold on. Damn it. Where I remember there's an avocado one. Let me see if I can find it. Oh my god, this goes back to 2015. Hold on. So in 10 years ago, oh my gosh. See, this is the thing. This is what happens when you ask these kinds of questions, because it's going to take a little bit to... Man, it's just a meme. No, this is the original post, though. Oh my gosh, hold on. It made it to best of. EVE Online players proclaims to be an ultimate 10-year EVE spymaster, IRL millionaire gangster, and the leading importer of Mexican avocados gets called out and continues to poorly defend himself in the comments. So that's where the avocado came from. And then the Texas lawyer thing was another one. So I just kind of merged those two together. And apparently I did not... Yeah. There you go. If anyone's asking, this is why you're the voice of New Eden that puts everything in context. Hey, man, as I said, ask me a question, get too long of an answer. No, yeah. Fenris just hired a former Icelandic minister of justice who, for a few years, was Fenris' landlord, but I don't know if she knows Texas law. Wasn't, yeah, there actually has been some really interesting news about that, especially since somebody from DeepMind, there's some weird AI stuff going on right now. I know that. Maybe I'll look into that and talk about it more on Friday. I don't see why I couldn't sell my account if I wanted to. Well, again, like, so it's against the rules. So the person who buys it from you, if it gets discovered, they could just have their account banned, and then they now have your account, but it's banned. Can we talk about how we should bring back training skills, because that was the real EVE Online days where you earned to play your playtime? No, I'm not willing to back you up on that one. That's not something I support. All right. Anything else we want to talk about right now? I do have the MER, but at this point, we're past the 3-hour point, so we could save the MER for Friday, just to make sure we have something for Friday. This has been a fun chat, though. If I pay a Merc group cash to protect a region of space, is that RMT? Yes. Yep. If you could... I remember this was a whole thing. I tried to look it up a little while ago. But, like, if I paid you $50 to bash someone's structure, that would be RMT. Correct. There was a whole thing about accusations of one of the Chinese groups buying an alliance, but I couldn't find evidence. Like, I couldn't find the original piece to all of that or who it was or whatever. But I remember there was a big issue about that, because, like, yeah, no, you're not allowed to do any in-game assets, services, or anything for real life money, period. Saw all the trauma flash on her face. Yeah. Don't forget to upgrade your clones. Hell yeah. I think this was never an issue in the past because the top dono thing was a physical item. Exactly. And that's one of the things I have said in the past to people that were trying to do this exact kind of thing. This would have been 1,000% fine if he had just made... He could have... So he was triggering extra giveaways because of donations. That's fine. He is triggering extra stream time because of donations. That's fine. He also wanted to, as he said, like, honor his top dono. Arguably still fine, but that honoring cannot come from something in the game. if he had given him a t-shirt or a pin or a sticker or a special role on his Discord or anything like that, all of that would have been fine. The issue exclusive, it could have been a caracal. I don't know why somebody would spend $3,000 for a caracal, but arguably that would still be a violation. That's just where the line is. Yeah, there was a whole thing about people paying people cash to be an FC. That's also against the rules. I can't remember the details about it. It was a while ago. I mean, multi-boxing is a huge issue in EVE, especially now. It's one of those things, I think that two things have made multi-boxing get worse over time. Well, a few things. First, I don't actually think that skill injectors have necessarily made it worse, because you still could have bought characters on the Bazaar. People could still train up multiple characters at the same time. Blah, 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 blah. I think skill extractors has definitely made multi-boxing worse, because now you can subsidize your Omega account by selling your brain and then just have that character available to you throughout the month to actually work with, as long as you don't need the skills that are trained from it. So the existence of skill extractors significantly hypercharged the use of multi-boxing, because now you could just farm out, like, well, especially skill farms, because now people just had 100 or whatever Omega accounts. It's like, well, what do I do with it? So it was just, why not multi-box? But then also, like, let's be frank, over time, computers have gotten better. As computers get better, they can run more clients at the same time. So over time, it becomes, you know, like, it becomes more and more normal for someone to have a computer that is capable of running multiple EVE accounts. And so that's just going to be a problem too. But I think that the fundamentals of what made multi-boxing a problem has always been there. It's just the rewards around it and the capacity to do it has only become more and more and more of a problem. And it makes wait, what? And it makes multi-boxing easier to spool up? What do you mean? Skill injectors? You could have always just, but that's my point, is that you could have always just bought pre-made characters. People do it with virtual machines. I mean, you can, but you still need computers to, like, you need to have the compute for the virtual machine. Having a virtual machine running on your computer doesn't give your computer more computational capacity. It just gives your computer the capacity to appear as two different computers to an external source. I have two combat tunes. I mean, I have two accounts. I think that everybody, like, at a certain point, there is a certain amount of multi-boxing that's almost necessary. Oh, you buy it from, yeah, I mean, you could do it that way too, for sure. But now you're paying more money, right? If FC decides to keep future client builds compatible with Steam Deck, EVE will get many players. It's finally online with a handheld device. I do, like, I've always wanted to, there has been efforts in the past to make EVE Online, like, play on a handheld thing, like a tablet or a Steam box. I think that could be really, really good for it too. Recommend FC's video about team security from a few days ago. Ooh, really? There's a new video from team security? I didn't see that. I legit, now that there are multi-boxers, that EVE is their job. And that's my point, is that, like, it's paying all their, exactly. And the issue with that is if they have the capacity to cash out their value. If they don't have the capacity to cash out their value through RMT, then all they're doing is multi-boxing for their own in-game resources, which, I mean, multi-boxing is definitely probably one of the single most caustic things to the enjoyment of the overall players. Oh, this FanFest stream, right? I remember that. Oh, that could be an interesting one to look into. You can cash out by selling through RMT website. Yeah, well, yes, you can. But, like, so that what that means is that the harder that FC makes it to do that, the better. That's all. Like, you're not going to win the fight. You know, you're not, like, obviously, as long as there's an incentive to do that, people are going to try to. The only thing that we can do is make it as hard as possible by not by not encouraging it as a player base, not accepting it as a player base, FC being aggressive about going after it, reporting people when you see it. Just don't like. So okay, to go a little bit back to the whole Steve Bannon thing. What's fascinating about that story? Now, however you feel about politics, this is an Eve world zone. We don't talk about politics here, but it's still like this is part of the history of how all this stuff came to be. But Bannon has talked about the fact that one of his major operations, his original operation, was he would get people in China to farm gold. He would have these facilities where people would be farming gold in WoW, and then he would turn around and sell that gold. And the thing is that even though it was against the rules, the idea was like, this is just so easy. It's so obvious. People were going to buy the gold. It doesn't matter how against the rules it was. People still went for it. And, as long as people were able to go out and farm it, if he was able to farm the gold and he has the gold, sure, like it wasn't necessarily always as efficient. There was losses here and there, but that's how business works, right? And so he made a lot of money doing this whole operation. But the problem is that the player base stopped him. Even though this should have been like this really easy business idea, the player base became increasingly polarized against gold sellers. So there is increasing stigma against people that buy gold. People were turning in their friends if they bought gold. But more importantly, players were going out of their way to go to where the gold farmers were operating and harass and undermine and take the kills from and just otherwise disrupt the efforts of the gold farmers. And a lot of this was fueled by racism, right? We even have songs from that time. I remember there's a song called Ni Hao, which is about Chinese gold farmers. This whole idea of Chinese gold farming is this like weird using the energy of xenophobia in order to kind of turn against this population of people and therefore become disruptive enough to the enterprise that it made it no longer viable as a business as well for him. And he has said that that is where he learned the power of angry white young males. And like that became a big piece of him going forward, was he realized that there is some real power behind this because it was able to have so much impact on what he was trying to do, even though it should have been easy peasy. So the point that I'm trying to make here is that dealing with things like RMT is a multi-front problem, right? Like the first step is to acknowledge the fact that it is highly toxic and destructive to the game itself. And so we as a player base don't allow it. If you know somebody who bought ISK, turn them in. If you know somebody who's farming it for that, whatever, botting, any of that stuff, who gives a shit? We cannot allow this stuff in our game space. And FC does provide the tools to help moderate and mitigate this kind of problem, and they deal with it on all levels. And you're never going to just fix it. So you could always just be like, oh, well, there's still ISK sellers or whatever. But the whole point is that the more that we work to keep it suppressed, the more that we crap on them when they post their stuff in rookie chat, refuse to buy it, refuse to accept people that buy it, and more importantly, again, encourage the proper way to do it by buying Plex and then selling it on the market, like through FC. Like that's how we fix it. And the more we let it become a problem, the more we get bad behavior like bots and hacking. Like that is the result of accepting RMT, is increasingly aggressive bots, farming, and account hacking. There's a reason why during that same time in World of Warcraft, in that year, if I remember correctly, World of Warcraft account hacking became the number one cybersecurity like attack in the world for a whole year because of how popular it was to hack people's accounts to drain their gold, because that gold was worth real life money to those people who were doing it. That's why we can't allow it. RMT in Final Fantasy 14 got so bad that Square Enix made gold essentially useless. Nearly all items are bind on pickup and have to be earned. Yeah. Final Fantasy 14 has its own thing when it comes to like how the markets work and stuff, which I find very interesting. I've talked about before a little bit more that I'm wanting to go into right this second. But so put on your tinfoil hat. FC has been told multiple times of various alliances that do it, and those alliances are still here. Alliances have been neg-walleted before. FC takes actions against it. It's a delicate balance between naming and shaming and actually taking action on it. I think that there's plenty of evidence that FC is doing what they can to deal with it. One might be able to argue that they could do more, but they seem very committed to doing it. And one of the problems with that is that it's too easy for Alliance A to use that as an accusation against Alliance B. So we have to be kind of suspicious about that kind of stuff. Like, you know, obviously Fraternity has a lot of reputation for that, but how much of that reputation is provided by people like the Imperium or other groups that have something to gain from people not trusting or liking Fraternity? And honestly, let's be frank, how much of that is still playing into that same racist like concept that it's like, oh, well, it's the Chinese players, right? And, you know, so we have to, I'm just pointing out that we have to be cautious when we say things like, well, alliances have been found out, but FC hasn't done anything about it. FC does do things about it in various different ways, but it's a much more complicated issue because of the fact that you're talking about major organizations and things that are possibly happening not within the entire organization. Like what happens if it's just a person within the organization not being like mandated by the entire organization itself? It's just a very messy and complicated issue in which there is no simple and easy answer. But the biggest piece to this, though, is that we have to maintain our wall. There has to be, we as players need to understand that there is a right and a wrong thing. And that's why I come back to this whole thing with Loru, because it might seem like small, but we're already, look at all these little arguments that are coming up. Oh, it's not that bad, or oh, it's this thing, or blah 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 blah. It shouldn't be. Like, the wall needs to be there. If it smells like RMT and it's done by a player, it needs to be not okay. Because if it's anything else, then it's mud. And that's bad. It's already bad. It can only get worse from here. Right? That's ultimately my biggest point here. Is something going on with the automat? No, there's a couple people that do like to make their own posts disappear. I'm not doing anything I haven't seen anything get automated this entire conversation. But people can pull their comments back if they want to. Yeah, they do tend to, they have called out alliances in the past, especially at FanFest and stuff. But again, like, it's this delicate balance because of the social, political nature of EVE Online, especially with nullsec alliances. It's true, honestly, Frontier is the place for RMT and EVE Online, for sure, for sure. And I don't even mean that in a bad way. Like, it's from the ground supposed to be trying to compensate for that or allow from that. You want to do RMT, either become a streamer or do RMT with a streamer. And that's the thing, man. Like, it sucks that ends up being a conclusion that, like, that's why it's bad to muddy it. That's why it's bad to muddy it. The more I listen to the RMT debate, the more I'm for it. Imagine playing the game for 14 hours a week every day and making a decent monthly pay. You wouldn't work a day. The only question would be, but the thing is that, like, if that's true, EVE Online is already a competitive game. You're now going to have to be now somebody who just wants to mine for a little bit because it's his chill out at the end of the week is having to deal with people who have spreadsheet, like, already they have to deal with people that are spreadsheeting in order to optimize their stuff. Now they're trying to do people that have fucking bankroll behind them because it's worth actual money. That ends up becoming bad. I mean, look, you could argue that, well, why don't we just let RMT exist in EVE Online? And FC could maybe, in theory, change their policies. But until they do, this is their policy, and this is how this game works. I'm not necessarily arguing that it is the right way, although I am arguing that there are some terrible effects of it changing otherwise. But in the end, the rules are the rules, and that's how this works. I forgot my wallet. Need to pay up for the next month of default. Winning on Ash's right. Exclamation right. Exclamation plunder. Exactly, lazy. Legalizing RMT brings out the literal worst in society because then they can make a living out of it. Yeah, exactly. They're economically incentivized to do bad things with it. But more importantly, and here's the piece that I don't feel like that we keep dancing around, but we're not talking about directly. And so I'm going to call it out. As soon as it's worth real life money, then there's the value of real life investment to make it happen, right? So if I can turn a Sidewinder into $3,000, then that means I can spend $1,000 to find a way to acquire a Sidewinder, knowing that I'll be able to get $2,000 if I do acquire one. That's why this leads to things like botting, to hacking, to other sort of things. Because as soon as the end product is worth an actual amount of real money, then the process of getting that all just becomes cost and overhead. And we do not want a video game, especially a video game like this, that is so competitive and so about real people investing their real energy in order to make things happen in the sandbox. And now that energy can be augmented by financing, right? That you could argue that there could be some interesting ideas about that. What happens if somebody becomes like wealthy? You know, somebody makes $1 million and so decides to build an alliance where he pays for all of his friends to come and play Eve with him. Like, you could argue that there could be spaces for this that could be kind of interesting, but overall, the God honest truth, the ultimate result of it is you are now economically incentivized to ruin the video game. That's it. Like, doesn't FC testing a private server with AI? I couldn't imagine our server getting thousands of AI alpha bots joining. Yes, they are testing. They're doing AI tests with a copy of EVE Online. That doesn't necessarily mean that they have anything to do with operating in EVE Online. I don't think that's where this is going. Why are we still following the rules in a practically rule-less reality? Oh, it's fine for the people with tons of money to do it? Right? We're talking about EVE Online, a video game that we enjoy for our hobby. What do you... This isn't war. There are rules. This is bowling. Market zero. What are you talking about? Iceland had to root out their corruption. They had a big reset a few years ago. Noisy. Well, yeah. Actually, you know what's funny about that? One of the main guys who helped make... First of all, CCP got like accolades during the crisis. And then one of the main dudes that was like part of the economic crisis and taking down the bankers that were part of it in Iceland ended up working for CCP Ghost, helping create the new player experience. Noisy, do you know what happened to CCP Ghost? I haven't heard from him in a while. Russians have already threatened IRL attacks and DDoSing over SOV. Imagine if money was involved. Hell yeah, that's exactly. I think he's still around. He ghosted. Oh, lazy. Oh, lazy. Yeah, I want to know more about Ghost's weird X-rays. I met CCP Ghost. He is spooky. Like, he's a smart guy. He's very, very friendly, but you can tell that he has like training. Like, he's a spy. He's one of those guys that like very nice, smiles, friendly dude. He's looking directly into his soul, or into your soul when he's looking at you, and you just know it. He's a cool guy. I really like meeting him. But then he disappeared. Anywho, all right. Whew. This has been a good conversation. Do you think the casino war was good content? I mean, yeah. So the thing about the casino war, like, I really, first of all, it was huge for EVE Online. So many people have pointed to it as a major inflection event. And so as far as like the Great Wars go and everything, you know, it has its place in history, and it was very, very impactful and meaningful in a lot of different ways. And it changed a lot of the narrative and story. Otherwise, like, it helped break up a lot of the stagnation. The idea that the Imperium was invincible and had won, which came from the Halloween War. I think that the story behind how the Casino War, World War B or whatever, got started with the idea of, you know, Space Monkey Alliance as this kind of part of the Imperium, but was sort of hung out to dry as part of this disagreement with the gambling sites. The issue that the casinos allowed them to have effectively infinite wealth was a problem. I mean, obviously it was a problem. It's why FC or CCP at the time ended up trying to do something about it, right? But EVE Online is a game about playing the ball where it lied. And so those were those conditions existed. I think it was good that it happened because it was more than just the ISK, because there's all the stuff that led up to it, you know? The Money Badger Coalition wouldn't have been the Money Badger Coalition if it wasn't for the Honey Badger Coalition, right? Like it has its place in history. And like the availability of the ISK was a big critical piece to it all. The unassailable wealth of it all was a big piece to it all. I think that it did demonstrate that the idea of the casinos in EVE had become too powerful, as well as far as like wealth accumulation. But I also think it was also a broader, like, in a broader sense, it was just shown that like wealth accumulation broadly within EVE Online had hit a critical threshold where, you know, losing a Titan wasn't the biggest thing in the universe anymore, right? People could have individual Titans at that point. And that ended up like, it was like a sign of the amount of wealth accumulation that had happened throughout the entire universe to have that be possible. And like, yeah, I think I would just say that I think that it was both good that it was able to happen, but also I agree and I accept the fact that it was probably good for FC afterwards to be like, hey, we're not going to let this happen anymore. All right, Critty. I mean, it wasn't infinite wealth. People were giving them money to gamble. If people didn't gamble, they wouldn't have money. I'm saying infinite wealth because, like, the actual numbers, and we did talk about this in Talking Stations and stuff. We did interviews with all them and stuff. Like, seriously, the numbers that were involved in this would blow most people's minds. Like, they were burning through like trillions of ISK at least a week, if I remember correctly. Like, just the amount of ISK that was being poured into the Money Badger Coalition and, you know, that whole world, that Voltron force that was being created, like, it was effectively infinite wealth. Like, of all of the claims of the Imperium and all that sort of stuff, like the idea of unassailable wealth and the idea of infinite wealth were close enough to being true that it's not worth arguing. But again, I think that what happened was a result of all of the things that happened before. And in that sense, I think it was good that it was allowed to happen, and it was good that that it did happen, even if they changed whether or not it could happen again afterwards. In the same way that, like, you know, back in the day when the servers fucked up and like causes a problem or whatever, like, you just need to be able to play the ball where it lays. So does it make sense that that fleet got wiped out because the players got disconnected or whatever? I mean, no, in a best case scenario, it wouldn't have happened, but like, that's part of playing in the living universe. And so, you know, it was an emergent thing as part of the story, but I think that what it did was demonstrate a problem that was beginning to exist in the game. And what was recognized from that is that that level of wealth should be coming from an ongoing work of the game, like an alliance building wealth, as opposed to an external product like a casino. And otherwise it can have dramatic effects on the balance of the game in a way that, if it was allowed to continue past that point, would have definitely been problematic. Because again, just kind of like with the Loru thing, if that had been allowed, if it had been acceptable, then it would have become a new kind of norm. And that becoming a norm would have been a big problem. But it being the culmination of the steps that led up to it, I think is part of the story of what makes Eve Eve. SC Ghost is still doing interesting things. He's listed as senior strategist. Thank you so much, Noisy. That's good. The casinos would be impossibly overpowered if they're allowed to continue into that asset safety and infinite build slot area. Oh yeah, for sure. Like I said, it is. I will absolutely say that, like, Eve would not have. It would have been a huge problem to allow it to continue after its power had been demonstrated. But I think that ultimately it was good. It was healthy for the whole game. I think that we were already going into a period of stagnation, and it really helped, like, keep things in a sane world, even to this day. Like, imagine a world in which that hadn't have happened, and the Imperium were just like the undisputed winners of the game for the last like decade and a half. How much worse, or decade or so, how much worse would all of this stagnation, how scarcity, etc., would have even been? So, yeah, I don't know. That's my feeling about the casino war. All right, so just to wrap things up a bit, since we're getting to the end of the stream, we will do the MER on Friday with any other news that is there. So on Friday, we're going to do the MER, any other news. We're going to do the giveaway of the Conid skin for the Legion. And then we're going to do, I'm going to play on my second channel. On the Decanted channel, we'll be doing some X4 gameplay. So that's all happening Friday. Also, of course, as I said at the beginning of the stream, my birthday is coming up, and Arydanika, who is, you know, the queen of the channel, of course, is doing a giveaway coordination. I'm not the one doing this. I don't really know what's going on. She's giving me some vague updates, but this is her thing that she wants to do. And so I'm just trying to, you know, broadcast it a little bit. But if you are interested in helping out with getting me a new video card, my current video card 1070 Ti is creaking. So some people have been interested in this, but the problem with video cards is that right now video cards are stupid expensive. So the idea is to make this into a collective effort, so that way no one person has to put anything into it. There's Danny in chat right now. You can hit her up in Discord if you are interested in contributing. Of course, you will not be given a SKUA if you donate to my video card. I can promise you that. In fact, I may not even know. I'm not even 100% sure if I'm going to know who all made the donations. I think that's between her and the donators. But I do want to thank you, Danny, for the thoughtful idea of even doing this in the first place, and for those of you who have already made the consideration to do so, or do want to. My birthday is on the 22nd, so, you know, consider that if you want to. But otherwise, please make sure you at least like, comment, subscribe, share this video with other people, because that's how we get our stuff out there. Today we covered the New Eden news, and we covered the Avalon stuff and the Alliance tournament stuff. Don't forget to get your Foundation Day crate in the NES before we go. That might end tomorrow. So, blah, blah, blah. Let's see. Anything else to talk about? I think that's it. So, all that said, I'm an Ashrothi. I've been playing this game since 2010, talking about it since 2012, and I'm here to even to contact for you, my fellow Imperians. Thank you guys so much for hanging out, checking out the stream, watching the stream. If you're watching this after the fact, thank you very much. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know how much you liked it, or if there's anything else I should cover or talk about, especially this Friday, because I'm getting ready for that. But if you haven't already, and if you haven't already, you can use a buddy code in order to get 1,000,000 free skill points. That's available for anybody who has never used it before, even if you already have the account. Link is down below or in chat. That if you use my link, or the link that's there, it actually goes to one of the people that helps support this channel or stream. the officer, the directors of the convocation and those who help make this all possible. Not just me. It sends you to a random one of them to help out. And then also, if you are interested, the Convocation Appearance is recruiting. We maximize player engagement with EVE Online. We've been doing, we have our weekly moon mining and been trying to help out with people when it comes to engaging with the military campaigns. In fact, we just recently, thank you so much to Michael, one of our top supporters that has decided to hop into the Convocation. He was like, oh, why aren't we doing more stuff for the MR? So we did some low-sec mining for the MR campaign and some faction warfare stuff. Thank you to oh no. My name TL is I can only think of his chat name right now. Ari, thank you to Ari for being the FC for all those sorts of things and putting this together. I love the Convocation to hang out with you guys. If you want to join, you can always just join the Discord. You can join the Discord and just hang out with us. Even if you don't want to join the Convocation proper, we are here to help you out in EVE. And we also play other games and talk about it stuff. Right now we're doing some Enshrouded and Power World and whatnot. But, Convocation Discord is open to everybody. Make sure to like the stream. That's the thumbs up down below. It feeds the hamsters. And my puppy, who... Hold on. Let's see if I can do this. I moved my camera. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but down here. Oh no. Hold on. There's Zoe. So, oh shoot. All right. But let's see. Anything else? I make a game. It's called Playton. You can pick it up if you want. It's free. I think that's about it for everything. That's all I'm going to say. So, I've been Ashrothi. I've been playing this game since 2010, talking about it since 2012, and I'm here to put EVE into context for you, my fellow Imperians. Thank you all so much, all of you who hang out, share. So much good chat today. All of you. Even the people that have not, even you people that disagree with you, I appreciate your comments just as much, if not more. It gives us good conversation. I'm not trying to just like shit on anybody's stuff. I hope that you if you see, I try to be as fair and level-headed as I can when I talk about the things that I talk about, which is why I firmly say that Loru sucks. But yeah, there's no. I moved into the other room right now, so that, yeah, there's no more flying. That's in the other room. I plan on using it for other recordings and stuff. Don't worry, it'll be back. But I'm actually now back in my bedroom as my major recording area. Don't worry about it. All that said, thank you to my top tier supporters: 745 NPSI, Arydanika the Queen, Bad Boy Smooth, Evo Elite, Erladis, Elange, Flash Gordon, Grims, May, Malak Starfire, Malin, Mercuton, Mike, Morcar, Michael, Neil M, LM1, Sheesh, Suso Friends, and Rid, and all of you for hanging out today. It's been a great day. We will be back on Friday. But until next time, I've been Ashrothi, the voice of New Eden, and I'll see you in space. I do reserve the right to do emergency sessions, so make sure to get on Discord for that. But otherwise, I'll be seeing you on Friday, and I'll see you in space.